Hey, at least you didn't say me. Cause my third may not be real good.
You started with the recording with, all right, now that we just finished our prayer. Go ahead. All right, we're good? All right, everybody ready? Sarah called the meeting to order, got a motion and a second.
Who did the motion second?
Sam, motion. John, second.
Who did the first one?
I did.
Who?
What about Wendy? What deals this week? Mr. Brendan, who's gonna start, Meetin?
I'll start us off.
Point you real quick.
So, kind of the first thing I wanted to talk to you all about this morning before we get into the department presentation is, you know, we go through early in the budget process and project out where we anticipate finishing the current fiscal year. And so we take what we spent to date and project that out for the remaining months of the fiscal year and come up with a projection. When you look at both the revenue side and the expense side, it looks like we're gonna come in about 2.5 million to the good. If you add in, we had planned to do a restricted fund balance transfer for LMIG from last year, where we didn't finish the project last year. That's another 600,000. So if you added that in, it may be closer to 3 million to the good. So we're finishing the year in really good shape. We, you know, we've been adding to our fund balance yearly, and so we have, at the last audit, we had 8.4 months was our reflection of reserves. And that's liquid reserves that we could use, you know, if needed. GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, they kind of put out national standards for government financial stuff. They say, you know, you want to have at least 3 months. So we're well beyond that, and we'll add more to it this year. One thing I kind of wanted to talk to you about this morning, there was a discussion a few weeks ago on the county manager's listserv about how much reserves different communities keep. And I think it's from that, and it wasn't all counties, but it appears it's you know, normal to keep beyond the 3 months. You certainly want to do that as a minimum. So, you know, we're going to be pushing 9 months now. One concept that was mentioned on that discussion was, I think it was maybe Troup County, they do a capital reserve. So they take anything beyond a certain number of months and they put it into a capital reserve, and they can use that money to do capital projects. And so I think how you would do that in practice would be, you know, you would essentially restrict some of your reserves for capital projects, just sort of set them aside. And so we wanted to kind of present that talk to you this morning. I mean, you could say anything beyond 6 months, we're going to dedicate for capital projects. And so it costs about 1.8 million for us to operate per month. And so if you say 3 months, the 3 months beyond the 6, you were going to dedicate to capital projects. You got $5.5 million there that you could dedicate for capital projects. So that's just kind of a concept I wanted to throw out to y'all and get your thoughts on that. I mean, we are, you know, our reserves are growing. I want you to know that that's there and available for you to use. I wouldn't dare suggest that we, you know, spend it way down, but if there were, you know, needed capital projects out there, I want you to know it's there. And I thought maybe if we carved it out like that, you would have a specific number that you could point to and say, hey, we've got this much available for capital, and the balance is still there for, you know, a rainy day. Any thoughts or questions about doing something like that?
I think it's needed, because we got a lot of capital projects we keep putting on the back burner that hadn't been done. I know several things that we need to address. this board, well, the past board and this board, neither one have been able to address. And I think it would be, myself, if we keep telling them we ain't got it, well, we've got it now. You know, but we just got to, we need to prioritize what, what needs to be, the direction needs to go. That's gonna be the biggest, everybody needs it. Yeah.
I agree. I think that's a smart idea to earmark it and reserve it, because at some point, you won't get dinged for it, but at some point, it's not the best industry standards to have too much, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
Not only from auditing standards or accounting standards, but also from public view. That why are we not getting this done if we've got money? And that that's a fair judgment of us, I think. And so I think we set a standard that we want to feel comfortable, because I don't want a rainy day to come and us not have money in the bank to do something with when the pandemic hit. We were in a situation there for a couple of months. Luckily, online sales and all that kept us afloat because people still needed goods and services. But I think that's a smart way to do it. So just to be clear, the $2.5 million that we got. So if we ended with that, just saying all of the supposed things, if we ended with that and we put that straight in the general fund, that would be a $2.5 million increase in our budget. Is any of that accounted for in that 3-month rainy day fund, or do we need to, I'd say, just set the capital projects guidelines first and then see what we're going to do with this $2.5 million? There are projects, there are probably needs this year, and I think in our budget we need to know going into the budget, are we holding the line? Are we saying no, or is it now time to fill some of the? I'm looking at the list of things that needs that people have that are not, in my opinion, annual operational needs. They're big ticket items, and now would be a time to hit some of those big ticket items. And I just use, IT. If we need server upgrades, that's not a thing we budget for every year. That's something we need to look at. If it's needed and it's a big ticket item, we take that out of this surplus money. If it's a heavy equipment, or if it's something big that we really need. Because if you give us the opportunity, we'll get into the wants instead of the needs, and stick to the needs.
Yeah. So Ronnie Kelly took the finance section of the continuing education, so I can talk a little bit on it needed to. And that was one of the questions I asked with this point. I said, at what point do you have, talking about the reserve stuff, and I said, at what point do you have too much? And that gentleman just said that. He said, you get to that point, he said, obviously there's projects that need to be done that y'all haven't done, so you need to, he said, I'm not saying too much is bad, but you're probably not doing what you need to do. So, yeah, just remember that question, when is it too much?
Yeah. So, we've still got room in the normal operating budget to fit a lot of this stuff. But if there are things that we can't fit in the normal operating budget, or, the really big ticket stuff, that money's there and available if we need to use it. All right, just give some thought to what number of months you would want to set aside for our true reserves, and then beyond that, we could do as capital reserves, and you've had that available, going forward. I mean, it's available now, but just so you have a specific dollar amount that is there. And kind of like in water, we have the new construction and construction savings, and you can point your finger and say, we got $2.1 million. You'll be able to do that now in general fund too.
I'd like to ask Meetin, she's the lady that knows, and she's the one that's gonna feel comfortable where we're at. What's your recommendation would be?
Our recommendation is 4 months.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
no more than 4.
No more than 4.
I figured or six before.
I want this, but the boss says four.
That's why that lady right there,
I'm
was
motioning four.
she said she's good with four. Good. Yep.
Chairman, I would say this, and it's probably not gonna be popular, but we need some kind of metrics to evaluate capital projects, because we're gonna have a lump sum, and people are gonna look at it, and people are gonna say, well, I need this, and I need that. I don't wanna get at a point where this year, we say, you know what, okay, we'll do it because you've convinced us there's either a need or a big want, or a lot of people want it, or it's popular, and we do it. And then next year, we have a real need that we're like, all right, now we really can't do it because we did that last year. And I don't want everybody to just start jumping on, hey, I want this, I want that, I want this, because it happens. I've seen it every time I have a big project. If you post a budget of a project, which I've quit doing the last couple of years, you post a budget, your bids will come in so close to that budget, it's not even funny, every time. But if you say the budget will be determined based on the needs of the project, it's a difference there.
Yeah.
So I think we need to have, whether it's when a department head asks for something, or a commissioner, have the, maybe we have a criteria list of here's how you justify it. Is it gonna save us money? Is it gonna increase your efficiency in your department? Is it gonna provide a better service to the public? Is it, these are things that we need to look at, not just, and I'll use parks, because that's a popular one that everybody likes, but, everybody wants to fund them. But sometimes a parks, it's great to have green space, but if it's not utilized, I'll be the first to say that when we started talking about this dog park and track out here, I was thinking, we're probably not gonna have a lot of people use it, because it's at the government center, it's way away from everything fun. This thing is used like crazy.
All the time.
Yeah.
Always somebody here.
So, I mean, that would have been one that I would have missed big time, but looking back on it, those are things we need to think about. Is it something that people are gonna use if we're gonna put a park somewhere? Just my thoughts on it, need some time.
Yeah, we need to, you're right, they realize we got old, and that's what the bid's gonna be, actually.
I would like us to look at some of the older projects too, that we haven't, that we keep brushing back, that this money could kind of help to go ahead and catch up. Those areas too.
One last thing, Chairman, I would caution for us is, if we can use this money on projects and not supplement for salaries, raises, that kind of stuff, because every time we give a percentage raise, or we give a salary adjustment on something, that's an annual cost it's not a one-year occurrence. If we put that money towards the project and finish the project, we got more money in the general fund to pay those salaries and increases. And I think that's how we keep that salary line that we adjusted. We keep everybody on the same page. We don't get out of whack on our salary scale.
Exactly.
So, we're still working on the so kind of moving into FY '23, we're still working on the revenues there, and getting numbers from the tax assessor and tax commissioner, and so we'll do some additional tweaking there. On the sheets you have that are kind of underneath the list of projects, we went through, we plugged in basically all the sort of routine operational needs, which is what we've done in years past. And it appears there that you've got about 1.6 million beyond that to work with. So as you're looking at the big list of special requests, just know that that's about what you've got available there to work with.
1.6.
Where are there increases figured in any of that?
Yes. So I went ahead and figured in there had been discussion a couple months back about doing the 2% thing again in FY '23. So that's already factored in. So I have that on the big list because y'all need to formally approve that, but I went ahead and factored that into these numbers.
So if we pull, oh, you factored in these, so we can pull it out of this one.
You can, yes. All right, just a few miscellaneous kind of things I was gonna throw at y'all real quick before we start having the departments come forward. One thing that I do have figured in currently that I wanted to discuss with you is the health department funding, and we discussed that a few weeks back. The health department has traditionally asked for $100,000, and we've traditionally given that to them. This year, they submitted a request for $120,000. The amount you're required to give them is $16,248, I think.
Correct.
And so, that's a $100,000 swing there from, 86 or a $100,000 swing, depending on which number you look at, that you could opt to give them or not give them. And so, I thought this might be a good chance to just kind of have that discussion about how you want to handle that. Obviously, that has an impact on the amount of money you have available there. If you pull that out, you're at 1.68, I guess.
So we only are, back up on that, did I hear that right? We're only supposed to give them around 16, so those surrounding counties, what do they give their health department?
It's all over the place.
It's all over.
So,
all
some
over.
give them 9 or 10 times what they're required to, some give them 4 or 5. ACCG sent out some information 2 or 3 months ago, and so counties wrote back with how much they give them, how many times the required contribution, and it was, some had caught wind of this. ACCG sent something out some years back, and some counties said, "Oh, we don't have to give them all that much," and reduced it to because they get most all of their funding from the state. I mean, Kevin, I think you sat on their board and know they've been squirreling away money for a lot of years.
I
And,
mean, and my thing is this, I'm in grade constantly, and it's not you, so why are we?
About the first, I would say what we're required and let them come to us and say why.
mhm.
I'm not trying to be stingy, but I mean, when the project came up on the building, they were talking about getting help. I finally looked at the budget, and they had a pile of CDs sitting there that, just kept accumulating. Y'all need money.
Mhm.
So,
Have they opened their doors up to finally seeing people inside their building now?
And I don't know.
They are. I mean, I know that the service that they do provide is wonderful, especially for our babies and pregnant mamas. That's who probably mostly takes advantage of it, but they don't have, they don't have a social media presence, they don't.
14,293.
So if this money was going toward bringing
outreach.
business in, that would be one thing, but,
Chairman, I would recommend, since we don't know the ins and outs of what their needs are and what percentage they're getting from us and percentage they're getting from the state, one baseline we could start with is look at a 5-year trend of how much they've increased their CDs or their fund balance or squirrel away kitty. Reduce, if that's $10,000 a year and we're giving them 100, then we put it at 90. And then we start looking at what are the services that you're providing. Are your services increasing? Are they
well, of
staying
course,
the
their
same?
services are gonna be increased over the last 2 years because of COVID. I mean, everybody went there to get a vaccine.
But a 5-year chart will show you it raised 4%, and all of a sudden the last 2 years it was 20%. That throws it off a little bit. But most counties, they're based on the services provided to the number of people. So, we may have 30,000 people, but only 10,000 are utilizing services from there. If BIP has 160,000 and 80,000 of them are, 50% of theirs are using it, where, 15% of ours are using services from there. So that's why there's such a great fluctuation in dollar amounts. But we don't wanna, I don't think anybody on this board wants to cut services or have them not provide the services that the community needs, but I don't think it's on us to keep building up their slush fund or any funds. They get money from the state that provides that stuff, so that's where I would start. Definitely not an increase if they increase their fund balance over the years, but see how much their fund balance is increasing, and then we want them to be a net.
So you can leave them at the 100 and then.
Well, I would see if we got, do we know how much?
Yes, sir. And I send every commissioner their audit report every single year. I email it to every commissioner, so it is listed in their financial report.
Good. Well, I sleep pretty good at night, so I don't usually need those. I mean, I love those reports, but I'll be honest, I'm gonna read the tallies at the end of them.
All right, so now you're telling me I need to go back and read. Okay, thank you, Louisa.
We just hope we don't say 4. That's what the answer is, 4.
You wanna put Louis on the spot again and say, that's what that all needs to be?
If not, we can do it by the time we decide, but, I mean, we can decide now, not the extra 20,000 or whatever they're asking for.
Okay.
Louis, I'm gonna pick on you.
Oh, fine.
Fine with what? Leaving it where it was or going down?
Going down.
You know what the answer to the question is, right? Is that what you're saying?
What would your recommendation be?
Go down
How
To-
much?
to we're supposed to be giving them 14.
You want us to get bullish, right?
I think that needs to be something they need to come to and it's justified with the need. I mean, really, we make every other department head in here
Yeah.
do the same thing. Justify your need. Well, we need justification on it.
Yeah.
We're just not giving them the money.
And we hold most departments, we've held them to what their last year's budget was, or we've reduced by a certain percentage. And I think that would be a fair blanket statement right now, is if we cut 10% last year, we cut 10% of theirs. If we cut 4%.
We've been giving them 100,000 for years.
Do we
I
know
was
how
fixing to
much
say,
their,
how long have we been
Yeah,
at
it's not just
100,000?
started with this board. It's been going on.
do we know how much their kitties increasing every year?
I can find out for you. I'll do an Excel spreadsheet for you and send it to you
Thank you, Dan.
for every year.
You're the best.
I'll send you their fund balance from their report.
Will that show the
Resend the
secrets?
email that you sent
I mean,
last time.
Does that show the secrets?
Yeah, it's their financial statement.
I'd send it back out to read it this time.
I remember that about $1 million fund balance. I remember they got full year. Right.
I don't know that it's a million, but it's over 5.
It's close.
Jason, can you pull it up on your laptop?
It takes a lot of time.
That would be to be determined.
I think that's, we can. The increase.
Do you have it, Debbie?
I think I have an email from a meeting where they sent us the documents. I may be able to find that.
One of those, I read it real quick, flip somewhere. But
I look for it like.
I think we'll go with budget.
I got here, they did.
If it's that one, it's 147 pages. I skimmed through
She said, turn it off for everybody.
the summary page.
I didn't do that. I come here, they just reading my mind, scared.
We got a guy, good guy, everything he sent you, you should read it out loud. And I'll go through, flip page, be like one line, all right? All right. Jason, do we have an idea of what the repairs in the courthouse? Yes. Preliminary ballpark figure.
It's gonna be $1 million.
Million plus, just for the roofing, the windows, the unknown, the walls.
Right, and there was a little bit of work with the elevator, I think.
We should make sure that's taken care of.
That's our band, that's our band aid.
Yeah.
And we got money for that.
We got SPOS money for that.
Okay.
And it was money we included in the SPOS bond, so we've got it in hand. Yeah,
All right, good. I think that's a good spot for that capital project. start getting there, it's gonna cost a big ticket item.
Yeah. I've got some more miscellaneous things, but I'll just work them in as we
Sure.
get time.
You start with animal services, or we still?
IT is,
Oh, I got the wrong, looking at the wrong. I take no, I go down a budget. All right.
the fund balance. Can I say one thing before Will?
Yep.
Miss Debbie just found her, financials for the health department. It says their total fund balance, was $1,351,574.84. $1,351,574.84.
And that was as of April the 30th.
Yes, ma'am.
I told you that was over, man.
You sure did.
You want me to send you this?
I have to audit it. Thank you.
Just up there, operating budget, like ours. Thank her.
Did you want to back up, Sharon?
That's, I'm just saying, that thing's grown from when I started at about 750, it says over $1 million.
I don't know, would they have that, they wouldn't have that grant in there, would it?
So that's for clarification, because I mean, I watched that thing for 6 years grow.
I don't want to be fake news.
That doesn't have the grant.
Okay, I just want to
That's
make sure.
the CDBG grant. That doesn't have that in there.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Man, an hour,
All right.
a minute, or whatever you want to do.
Okay, today I've got, 3 capital projects for you guys to consider. 2 of them are servers. One of them is for our probate, court, and the other is for public works. These are host servers. They house 2 virtual servers within them. The ones that we currently have are coming up into life. The warranty, we cannot extend anymore. So it's kind of important to get these things replaced. The other capital project, which y'all have, talked, I brought it before you before, is the additional IT person that will serve it with elections. They will provide service to the elections office. And that's really the 3 big ticket items I have.
This we've already talked about. I think the other 2 requested first, I don't know how you want to do it, you want to do it?
We can do it at the end. We can
Okay.
probably kind of do it
Okay.
at the end.
All right.
But just for clarity, Will, that the 35 that was previously approved, this is just to go from 35 to 50,
Yeah.
not an additional 50.
Right, yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir, yeah.
Yeah, I should have put
You
it.
gonna apply for it?
Oh, yeah. And we got Shannon, she's, provided information to the RDC, and they are kind of working on, developing, guidelines for like job duties from notes that me and Marion have given her. So they're currently working on that.
Question for you? Thank you for a great job.
I appreciate it.
I do have one, Chairman. How do we, communicate between Public Works and here now that?
We have a VPN tunnel
Okay.
between here and there, and they are actually on our domain. They provide a backup DNS server for us, so if ours ever goes down, we're still pulling from them.
I just wondered about it being so far away, how we were.
The internet service out there is definitely an issue. It could be a lot better. I was really hoping Trico Go was gonna kind of get out there, but it's not looking real good. We did just upgrade the service. Windstream is providing 100 meg down, which is really good, but the upload is where the problem lies. It's 20 meg, but well, we don't ever get 20. I mean, we're lucky to get 12.
Okay.
So, but you know, it's a small office, and we're not pulling, you know, we're not pulling a lot of video, but there is some. So, but that's kind of where we are with, you know, the public work.
Good, all right. Anything else, Will? Have a great week.
All right.
Morning, Commissioner Martin.
Good one.
What we got next? Water department. We'll get you out of here just as quick as we can.
Good.
Good, so you ready, right?
Yes, sir. What up, overall, I've asked to increase both the sewer and water budgets by a good bit. That is just due to the neglect that we have found, I have found since I've been here. Plus the increase of pricing on everything. I mean, 2 years ago, we were just talking with Tim, 6-inch PVC was, $15, $18 a foot, now it's $55 a foot. You know, so a lot of this stuff, I added inflation into my overall just my general fund, I suppose. But the biggest thing are my capital projects here. This coming up here, I am gonna implement a hydrant service preventative maintenance thing that doesn't seem to have been happening in Jones County. I know John's mentioned that to me several times, especially in Haddock.
Outside grade, everywhere in Johnson County.
Everywhere in Jones County. That's gonna be exercising, flushing, repainting, locating, putting them on the GPS system. And I can tell you there's gonna be several that's gonna have to be replaced. So on that one item there, that's just a flat 10 hydrant replacement. We go and order those, have them sit on the shelf, and as we get to them, we can replace them as we get to it. There will be more than 10, if I had to bet, but that would be a good starting point. Hydrovac trailer, that would be nice. These other ones are actually more priority, so I'll say let's skip over that one to the end. Lift station repairs. These are the 8 Gorman Rupp stations that we have in River North and one in Sun Valley. We have started contracting a preventive maintenance program. Company to come in and do preventive maintenance quarterly on these because it's never been done before. We've always been a react. Water department, it seems, they came in 2 weeks ago, started doing the PMs. They couldn't do over half of them. That is their quote to just repair the 8 out of 13 that we have. That's just to get them back in working conditions as they should be.
And what do the other ones look like?
They are all submersible, so they're a lot simpler. Essentially, all you have to do to those, the pump goes out, you replace it. There's no internal mechanical parts that you can just tweak and change like these Gorman Rupp pumps can.
Do you have skill and manpower to do that in-house on submersible pumps?
No. I mean, pulling them is simple. I gotta have a boom truck. They're submerged 12 to 18 foot, I believe, is our deepest one. No, 20 foot is our deepest one. And we have no kind of crane system or anything to pull these pumps. I would love to be able to do it in-house. Because it's as simple as hooking to it, pulling it, switching your wires out. It's not complicated.
At one point, we were talking about doing a, overhead on the, to pull it. Is that ever?
We have one overhead, but it's not hooked up. It's there, but there's no wires, so it's not plugged in, it's not wired in. But even on that one, that's the road station, you can't get the truck to it. The roads, it's a 45-degree angle gravel road, but it's steep, it's real steep. You have to, halfway down, you have to stop.
Yeah, that's all.
One we looked at.
Yeah, I know you guys about it last time. They, I did a few things getting out.
Yeah, to get Watson to go back there and back it out, they have to have a breaker on service, on site, just so they can back down and then a breaker pull them out of the driveway. We have,
I remember right, there's too much in the way to even fix the roads there.
I feel like it could be fixed.
Too much storm sewer.
I mean, it's just, once you get with public works and see if there's,
Again, this is coming up year, that's when I'm really gonna start tackling that station. There's two of them up there that are like that you can't drive down, you have to.
Well, those repairs help the situations we got at the back gate.
No, this is sewer. This is strictly sewer here.
Okay.
you can fix that one permanently, like asphalt, concrete, or something, it's bad.
Yes, it's really bad. You have to park at River Boulevard and walk down that steep embankment, and it's very, very unsafe. Very unsafe. When Damon was here, before I got here, he wouldn't go down there. He had never walked down there. He was like, I'm not, it's too unsafe. So somebody ended up getting hurt with that station. But again, that 64,000, that's just to repair our existing ones to get them back up far. Replacement parts for the plants and lift stations. So, again, right now, if we have a fluoride pump go down at the Largo water plant, we have no backups. There's never been, we'll have to shut the plant down
Until those
until
parts.
we order a new pump.
And with the backlog of parts and delivery right
Very
now,
hard.
you can see,
All these corner up stations, again, they have interchangeable parts. If we have one go down, like right now, I've had one out for 6 weeks waiting on parts to come in. They just finally came out on Friday. But it went down, I had to order it, came in, and we had to get somebody to come out there and repair it. So on that is backup pumps, a backup pump to everything that I have in the system. So if something goes down, we have it in the shop, swap it out, send another one off for repairs, and keep everything running smoothly.
What's your current budget for, replacement parts like that? What do you normally?
I mean, I don't really have a line, I guess just repairs. I have what I actually spent this year versus. I was kind of thrown into a bunch of different subcategories because that's water and sewer in that limit right there, in that line item.
This was just to get you a stock though,
That's just a stockpile.
Okay.
Yep.
to get us planning ahead.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. 2 weeks ago, I had one that had it wells down for a week and a half. Last week, we got it back going. It's a $750 pump that we don't have sitting on shelf. It went out. I had to order another one. So that's what I'm trying to prevent is things being down. If it's been 5-minute change, we got a pump sitting on shelf, swap up. That was a boring pump. We just swap them out. Keep going.
I see the importance of it. I deal with the same issues with bus parts
And also, I mean, if the time comes that one of the Jones County wells goes down, those wells are running 23.4 hours a day. They're nonstop. So one of those wells goes down, and we are in serious, well, Graves can be in serious trouble. 'Cause
that's what feeds great.
that's, so all of our plants are maxed out right now, so we can't afford to lose one. So that's why that's the urgency in getting some of these spare parts. And same thing for the lift stations. We have a bunch of infiltration, rainwater coming in, River North, especially 1 through 5 pumps. And one of those goes down, and we get a big rainstorm, we will be having sewage on the ground. I've had 4 of those since I've been here so far. So next item, office renovations. I spoke about this on this last. Again, I have 11 people. It's just a cluster in the mornings. 2 ladies on the phone. They have, somebody's having a conversation. They have to tell us to stop talking. They have a customer walk in. just trying to modernize that. And I welcome any of y'all to come look at that and all of this stuff with me. I will show y'all exactly where all this is coming from.
They still using next door fee?
We have started, they're starting to eat lunch over there now.
Right.
It's still very bare. I mean, we got 2 tables and some chairs over there and a little kitchen, not a refrigerator. We just got the air conditioner fixed. The air conditioner went out too, so.
So in the old days at the fire department,
Yeah, and there's an office area where the GED building, the fire station used to be. We've kind of taken over that space, but yeah, it's just some chairs and a table. They go over there and eat lunch, but
That's an option for expansion, right?
that's my plan for this.
Okay.
We're gonna make an office area, add an actual water office over there for my 2 water operators, so they can have all of their paperwork, all their SCADA systems, everything in their one office, all their spare pumps and parts, all over there. So right now it's straight around anywhere that they can fit it, and then have a collection and distribution. Like Donnie has an office for him to have some spare parts, and he can upkeep, do all his paperwork and stuff.
So that brings it back to dollar crap.
It's
You might
bad.
have that, just make a visit, they're very cramped.
Flow meter replacements, that's a state law. You gotta have these, the EPD says you have to calibrate flow meters for your water audits every year. I don't know the percentage, I would say 60% of ours don't work at all. They've never been calibrated. Nobody that's at the water department now has ever seen them calibrated, so that's updated years. And now we got to replace them. Like I said, at least 60% of them don't work whatsoever. It's very important to know what your plants are producing, because currently, several of them, you have to go by how many hours the water plant ran, and then you have to divide that by the manufacturer's spec on what the pump is supposed to do. And over time, a pump's rated for 200 gallons per minute. Now it's doing 125, but we're still calculating it's at 200, so we're losing. That's water loss. That makes our water loss always look.
So do you have a budget for calibrating after you buy the new one?
Yes,
You got a schedule on
$250. I think it was $1,800 a year is what that's going to be. But that price right there is replacing the ones that we need replaced. And actually, I think I can get that down a little bit cheaper. That was one kind of rush to get quotes. I think I can get that number down, but that would be included installing the new ones and calibrating them all at the time. And that's material and labor on that one. And my last one is the EPD lead and copper study. I don't know if y'all are familiar with what's going on with the EPA and their new lead and copper revision rules. But essentially, we have to have a inventory of every lead and copper service line in Jones County by October 2024. And that's our water main, our service line, and the customer service line going to their house and in their house. I have to have an inventory of every water line in Jones County. And after 2024, I think they just increased it that Jones County is going to have to be replacing 7% of those every year. So that's going to that $40,000. Jason, Tim, and I have met with a company that kind of does the data, would do the data for us. Kind of tell us, they'll go to the courthouse and pull up records and kind of tell us what our troubled areas are, and they're supposed to be in your district, if you have the order district. We're at least half we're looking more like 60-70% of all the service lines in Jones County will have to be replaced in the next several years. So that is the $40,000 is $20,000 for this outside company to come in, like I said, start doing all of our, looking through all of our old records and stuff like that, kind of tell us where our troubled areas are, And then it would be additional funding because we have to go out to each site and pothole, dig up those lines and confirm, yes, these are copper, yes, these are lead, yes, these are solder and lead. And essentially any house before 1990, you're almost pretty much positive that it's gonna have lead, copper of some sort, it's gonna have to be replaced. So that's coming very quickly.
So we're gonna replace both lead and copper.
Yeah, we're hoping that there's gonna be some kind of funding for this in the future.
We can know before we're up against.
I think that, have we checked with ACCG and see if there's any funding? Because I know, Wendy may know in the school districts, I've had conversations about the school district is a public service. It's not a enterprise fund or an entity that creates a revenue stream. So there's all kind of grant funding for us to do studies on the backside of the meter in the school districts and all, protect kids. There ought to be some way for us, since this is a parliament and it's not its own authority, to say we're providing a service and we're keeping our kids from drinking lead in the water and all this, that, you know.
Sam.gov, I'm sure we've got, there's all kind of grants there.
Would be worth looking into, because I think we can justify it on the side that we're not the Meetin Water Authority, we're a department in the county that provides that service, and it's a balanced fund.
And there's gotta be some kind of funding. They can't expect counties just start digging up all their water lines and replacing them without, you know.
Because originally it was just, you gotta know what you're putting out there. You don't have to.
Or they gotta
replace
have
it.
track of what's out there.
If there's a problem, you gotta fix it, but you just gotta know what you got. And
Yeah, by 2024, October 2024,
Know what
you have
you
to
got.
know what you have. You have to have a game plan of, you know, again, I think the last word was 7%. It was 5, now they've increased it to 7. So, but again, that's coming, I'm just trying to get prepared for it. I don't wanna get caught, we're already behind, we're already way behind. The city of Perry is completely done with theirs already. How do you know that?
So this 40,000 to get us to that study point.
That will get us a year, this upcoming year, to gather all this data. Like I said, that's additional manpower. Again, we have to go, if we go down to Ruby Drive, we're gonna have to dig up, you know, that's probably a hot spot right there. Instead of digging up 75 houses on it, we can dig up, you know, the first one every 10 houses, and then you can pretty much kind of guarantee if this one has copper and lead, that one has copper and lead, the 20th house has copper and lead, they all have it, you know, they're all built at the same time. That's
Yes.
essentially what we have to do.
When did this EPA ruling go into effect?
Before I came to Jones County, 2 years ago.
Probably about the same time that everything changed for underground storage tank for me for gasoline.
Could be. I was still at my previous place, sitting in meetings for 6 months, or if not longer, about this before it came to Jones County.
January 2020.
Ha
That may be very well what the day was.
Yes.
I sat through several meetings in Warner Robins about this same thing.
But there's tons of infrastructure money coming out, so that we ought to be able to find it.
Last thing to keep, you know, I know I'm limited on time, a new hydrovac trailer. The one that we currently have, honestly, there's nothing wrong with it. It's getting some age to it. It was orange when it was brand new, now it's brown. We're having to do some repairs and whatnot. I would like an additional one so I can send a crew out this way across town, a crew out this way across town. Also, with that, we can start doing some of our lift station cleanouts and stuff like that with it instead of contracting that out through, you know, various plumbing companies around. If we need a manhole sucked out, cleaned out, because it's got a clog in it, we can go out there instead of paying somebody to do it.
It basically pay for itself.
It would, it would take a minute, if I'm being 100% honest, but it would take several years. But that would be a nice,
I'm good.
if, my biggest thing would be, again, we only have one, so if we have a small little service leak somewhere, this is over here tied up, the only way we have to dig then would be by hand, sometimes for 3 or 4 feet, or the mini X, which makes a way bigger mess. That pothole in the machine, where it is, you just do a little hole, you know, not tear up everybody's property.
Probably gonna need it for the
And I'll need it for that too. It's gonna get a lot more use in the next.
Need to turn this roof on.
Right.
How old is the existing trailer?
I wish I had that information. I thought about it this morning.
It's a great.
I
about
believe it.
5 or 10 years.
No, it's probably 4 if I had to guess.
If I say it's not that old.
We bought it, last time.
Like I said, it would be
The
nice.
additional
These other items are much more power, in my opinion. And that would be a nice bonus, but
And I think one of the thoughts too on the trailer is to have one dedicated for water and one for sewer. So, you know,
you don't cross it.
yeah.
That's a good idea.
whichever way we go, whether we can, again, use one for just sewer, one for just water, or continue, and that way, instead of, we got here, we're averaging, from what I understand, about 4 leaks a day. Now, with just that one and my crew, we're at 9 leaks a day that we're repairing. If we had another one, it would be 18, if those days come. Some days we have them, some days we'll walk in with 0 leaks on the board, then we'll walk in Monday morning and we have.
Talk faster, Vicky.
Then we come in the next Monday and we have 13, you know, so it's kind of. That's it. Y'all have any questions for me?
Yeah, time.
Cool.
Can I mention one thing real quick? Sorry, I don't want to, so Tim and Brandon and I and Meetin are working on, we presented y'all before with the sources and uses type thing for different water projects. Some of this, we may be able to fund out of the new construction, or construction savings accounts. And so we're gonna, put all that together, and, Meetin and I were talking just a few minutes ago about maybe doing a work session before the next commission meeting. And we also need to tweak the water revenue numbers so that, we know exactly how much you have to work with. With the changing rates coming, those revenues are gonna look different. So right now, I can't say you got X amount of dollars to work with on this, but we'll be putting all that together. I think it's time for me to stop talking.
Thank y'all.
Great.
Y'all do the same.
Hopefully no water leaks today and you get to enjoy family time.
Me too, because Jeremy's got a birthday party.
Yes,
so-
he does. First
And I'm
birthday.
about to be headed out there to help him myself, so.
Tell him I said happy birthday.
Judge, I think you're up next.
I am, okay, perfect timing, huh?
Perfect.
Good morning, everybody, how are y'all?
Good morning.
Okay. So I'm here this morning, like I said, always to beg for money, I suppose. In this new budget, I am proposing that we authorize a new position. It is a new position in that it was actually created and done by Judge Green before he left. He left in the March, but he promoted one of our current employees to this position at the end of January. And the position is chief clerk. And as you all are aware that every constitutional officer has a deputy clerk, what they call the chief clerk or chief deputy clerk, whatever. Superior Court calls hers chief deputy clerk. Sheriff calls his chief deputy. I think tax commissioner calls his chief deputy tax commissioner. The probate chief deputy is actually called by statute the chief clerk. It's called the chief clerk, and it's established by statute in Georgia. And it's rather unique because the chief clerk in probate court has some duties and authorities that the other clerks don't have. Number one, the chief clerk in probate court has the authority to act on behalf of the judge in all uncontested matters. There's a lot of matters in probate court that are uncontested. Consider the situation I'm about to describe to you. Brother and sister are here in Georgia. The mother just died. They live in California. Mother left a will, said, I have 2 kids. I'm going to name child 1 as the executor, child 2 is just a beneficiary. Both of them come to the funeral here in Georgia. They're going to leave town tomorrow. They present us in probate court with a petition to have their mother's will probated. Everything is in order. Nothing has to be published. Everybody agrees to everything. But for some reason, I might be out in court upstairs all day long. I may be in Athens at a training session. I may be out at lunch. But these people are here in town. They need to get back to California and take care of their mother's estate before they leave. So under those kind of circumstances, the chief clerk can sign off on the will, have it probated without the judge being involved in it. That's just one scenario, but there's a lot of scenarios where the chief clerk can act on behalf of the judge when he's not available. Secondly, what's unique about this position is, let me back up just a moment, every court, state court, superior court, juvenile court, magistrate court, have their own chief deputy clerk, that kind of thing. But the probate court chief clerk is the only position under the constitutional officers that will allow that clerk to take over in the event that the probate judge is no longer able to serve. Now, when Judge Green resigned, there are two provisions actually. You can either have an associate judge or a chief deputy or a chief clerk. Either one of those can take over in the event that the judge is no longer able to serve. I was an associate judge in probate court, so if I was able to take over. Judge Green had not had a chief clerk in probate court for some 15, 20 years. He and I always talked about one-on-one. He never found anybody that he felt comfortable with because that person they have a lot of powers. They act on his behalf. They can do everything that he does, the judge does, except those matters that are contested. So when I talk about contested matter, same scenario I gave you a moment ago, brother and sister comes in, and they say they just buried their mother yesterday. There's 4 brothers and sisters, and they all don't agree on everything. That matter is contested. Chief clerk couldn't do anything, has to be hearing before the judge. Okay. Chief clerk is basically the office manager. We have 4 other employees. Somebody there does traffic all the time. Somebody does vital records, birth certificates, death certificates, that kind of thing. Weapons carry permits, and all kinds of things go in probate court. Chief clerk would be in charge of all those people. In charge of traffic, in charge of vital records, in charge of wills and estates, in charge of everything. It's a very important position, but it's not often filled because you don't have the right person that can do it. The law also requires, the state of Georgia requires that if you're going to have a chief deputy clerk, that person, number one, has to be an attorney in good standing with the state bar of Georgia, or that person has to have been an employee in the probate court of that county for at least 5 years. The person that we've appointed to this position already has been an employee in Jones County Probate Court in excess of 5 years. I think that if this position is funded, then it's going to be a great advantage to the citizens of Jones County because it's going to take care of a lot of situations where they don't have to wait. They can come in and get their matters taken care of if those matters are uncontested. So it's going to be a great way for us to serve the citizens of Jones County. And lastly, in our proposed pay plans that I'm looking at here, it does provide under 115, the Chief Deputy Tax Commissioner has the Tax Commissioner has a Chief Deputy Tax Commissioner. The Sheriff has his Chief Deputy listed under, I believe it is 123. The Sheriff the Superior Court Clerk at this time does not utilize her position as a Chief Deputy, so I don't see it listed here anyway. But I'm proposing that either this position be listed probably as the Chief Deputy Tax Commissioner is under 115 or under 123 as the Sheriff's Chief Deputy is. Any questions I can answer for you?
That was pretty thorough.
Barry?
Okay.
Yeah.
And my excuse to go.
You're on it.
All right.
Have a great week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jeff, are you ready this morning?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Where's Tracy this morning? Tracy Chuck.
Yeah, it's been a little J oriented today.
We've got a game going. I'll call her one day, she'll call me out.
I do.
Hey, Chuck.
Oh, he got it on my
Well, I had to call her yesterday from the school system, so she was a saint for me yesterday.
Did Jeffrey yesterday?
She was a wonderful Jennifer and Jason yesterday.
They're only going to work for Jeffrey today. I get so many compliments on them. I think.
That is exactly right. The dynamic
Uh-oh, look
duo.
at, look at, she's getting it on. She's getting it, look at it. I got it, hey, look.
Hi, Good morning. So I'm actually asking for 2 things this year. Probably on the level of importance, probably not as much as everybody else, but I feel it would be a great addition for us. So currently, our 24 cameras that we have are chain link gates, like you see at the top. And I would love to swap them to the solid plexiglass doors that you see, for the obvious reason of it looks so much better. But also the added benefits for that, they actually reduce the anxiety in the animals because they don't have the caged-in feeling. It reduces the noise. And lastly, the spread of disease. So you've got someone that comes in, starts at kennel 1, walks all the way down this row, touching every dog as they go down, and pretty much it's dog A1 has something. Every dog they touched after that has got it too. So the ability to be able to do that would be cut down dramatically. And the second thing that I'm asking for is so it's a bank of cat condos. And so the unique thing about these is they have the ability to connect to external exhausts. So the air can be filtered in, it stays in that contained cat unit and goes right back out. So the spread of diseases there are pretty much non-existent. So so it's a quad of 4, and each one has so it's 2-sided. Cat can go through the portal hole, go to its bathroom area, and then go back through the hole to its little sleeping area. So there's 4 of those in each quad.
So the small doors is where the litter boxes are?
Yes, yes. And so I'm asking for 3 of those. That would go in one side of ours, and it would double our the ability to house more.
And help out also with the ventilation issue.
Yes, and that would absolutely cut down on that, and smell. So immediately, if you're familiar with cats,
Yes.
it can have a pretty strong
Ammonia.
smell. So we try to do the best we can to keep that down, and I'm quite honored that Jones County is pretty idolized by a lot of surrounding counties, and I'd like to keep up that ability to
Show out.
show out a little bit. We got to grow with the times, and I think it would, especially the dog kennel doors. It looks a lot better, and it's be a lot easier to clean. So if you imagine the chain link doors, say if the dog steps in, poop, jumps up on the gate, and that gate is not getting cleaned properly, maybe you miss a little crevice here, a little crevice there. It's not always 100%, so this would be very, very easy to clean and squeegee, and it would add cleaning, save cleaning time for the staff.
Just out of curiosity, I see wood, they look like cabins, like Shannon just said. Do we have like a woodworking shop at the school that we can donate material to, they can build something like this, little value add for us and them? Just curious.
Great question.
Wouldn't hurt to ask.
Nick DiPaolo. Nick DiPaolo is who you would talk to.
Yeah.
Ask and see.
Maybe
I've
we
seen
might
the
do
dog
something.
houses that the kids build. I'm not sure that's the direction we're going. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest.
I've never seen it, but if you give them a spec, say, hey, this is what we did, that's all I'm saying. I don't know. This is my first time seeing a cat come, though. I'm like, there's a cat, what is this?
Cats who walking like this.
And lastly, I didn't have it actually on this list, but I would love to be able to see our parking lot get maybe seal coated and restriped.
I was gonna ask about that, where we're on it.
Yeah, I know, I think we kind of got bumped last time that we asked, but, I was talking with Jason, I don't think it needs to be completely paved, but if we could, it's got a really good base on it right now. If maybe we could get it seal coated and just restriped, it would look 100 times better.
I thought we took out resurfacing and put seal coat and striping in. the additional funding was lost at, and they don't think it made it, but
I'm like, yeah, I thought we already had that, we were talking.
if
about
we
that.
didn't, yeah, that would be
Yeah, I
good.
think I got one, but, you know, if possible, and if I had to prioritize, if I was lucky enough to get one of these, my number one choice would be the doors for the kennels.
Question on, does it look like where the concrete block wall comes out here is a little farther than the kennel door block wall in?
So
How would
each opening, you got, like, concrete wall.
You're
Each
just
door comes
replacing the
with
chain
a,
link door.
each, like, glass door comes with the aluminum frame that goes around it, and we just install the frames to the concrete, and doors pop right in it.
So it just replaces the chain link kennel door.
Yes.
Are they installing, the company installing, or are we
There's a gap
installing?
between-
Which I don't think it's gonna be that large of a challenge.
He's right.
All right, Donald, look at that picture.
Do you have the papers? It may have had.
I think from the way I looked at it, y'all, it's like a picture screen door. You know, it's got the casing around it.
Shower door, right?
Yeah, shower door. It kind of, and it just screws
Into
I
the
mean,
concrete.
into the concrete. Yeah.
So you feel comfortable on that?
I mean, I think it's something we can do.
Yeah,
You
I
can
got
ask
it,
them if
my,
they've got, like, certified installers or whatever. Just see what
sure
they
it is,
have.
but I should have said it's something gonna be.
So you prioritizing your doors over the cat, not that,
Yes, sir.
all right.
Is
But
this
there's
the same
a-
area that we just put the dehumidification in that cat area, or is that totally different?
So the doors would go in the dog kennels, and the dehumidifier went in the cat side,
Okay.
in the cat room.
Oh, where we're talking about cat boxes?
Cat boxes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
that those would go in there.
Because we do have a little relief of them anyway coming or already.
It's actually, it got installed, and it's it's much better,
Yeah, they just did it.
last week.
It's already cut the humidity tremendously.
Yeah,
Wow.
cut it
About in half.
about in half.
Wow.
So it's down to 50% now from 80, I think.
16
So-
gallons of water over 24 hours.
Man, it was awful. What?
That's all I have. And,
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
really would love to see that parking lot.
Just throwing that in
I
there.
like how she just threw that in, don't
That's
forget
right.
the parking lot. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Y'all have a
That'd
good
be
day.
good, huh?
Oh, I love how she threw that in there. You gonna be that slick?
Oh, won't be that slick.
Come on. I'm ready to hear your bragging. You don't brag upon
Yeah.
what you've done so far.
Yeah, we've been busy, y'all.
Good, man. How about you?
Trying to figure it out. It's a daily process.
Keep on reading with it anyway. Who knows me? Come on.
Need some more. Need some more.
I'm good. This is the second item.
Wood, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, that would, yeah.
I mean, you can
No-brainer.
see.
Oh, yeah. That's a no-brainer, man.
Alright.
But none of that, yeah, sure.
Okay, hey, wow. Okay, that was simple enough, right?
I got you right wood.
Yep, okay, awesome.
That's
That
a,
was quick.
I don't even think that's a
Yeah,
discussion item, that Charles, you gotta be fixed, man.
Well, we've been replacing wood on it, and, you know, the slats, you know, as it's been
pulling up and.
Well, you get a cost on the difference
Trail.
between, yeah.
Well, that's
Track
what,
or-
yes, I
or-
will get a cost on that, but I would rather go with tracks, just because we went with that, we rebuilt the overlook over there already. And, just to add in here, Charles Cook wants, there's a ravine that goes under this bridge here. And he wants to put some 4x4 posts along that ravine to keep people from crossing over, falling into the maybe. And that's also included into that number.
How far up there, ain't you talking about? Cause that ravine goes all the way
It
up.
was a good ways. I was thinking maybe like, I think I figured 100 foot is what I figured from the edge of the bridge up
He's gonna put post drill holes in, put
to that chain, that plastic chain in it. I mean, it's not really meant to save as much as an area. So, okay, all that was easy enough on the first item. Okay, on my second item, I'm asking for additional maintenance employee. In the 2021 budget, we did cut one position in order to try to get to the number we needed to be at. Workload has significantly increased. You can look at the chart, and that's just numbers of work orders that's attached with that on the back. 2020 was pandemic, that's why that number's a little lower.
Should have been your catch-up year, right?
Yeah, right, so I'm doing catch up, and, Parks and Rec, they always, I don't know, it was that way before I was here, but they always took care of their air conditioner filters, they took care of, small things to do around the parks and stuff, and, since we changed over, they really have nobody to do that now. So that has been added on top of us. The convenience centers, we've had to replace several air conditioners, window units in those, just because, the tenants were usually relied upon to keep the filters changed or whatever in those units, and they haven't been doing it. I wanted to propose to you guys, I want to go in and make a maintenance plan at every Parks and Rec building, every convenience center. And that way, there's a record of what's been done. We know, every quarter, we're gonna be doing something. We can visually inspect. We had to replace a floor in Rock Creek. It was pretty bad. It's just been that way forever, And that way, we kind of stay on top of things.
So real quickly, 31.2, what is the base salary for that
That's
position?
$15. I didn't want to go too high.
That's just a maintenance tech.
That's just a maintenance tech. We've actually been, we have used guys from the school, and, they can't get here till like after lunch.
Right.
It's just kind of hard. They can't drive an automobile, It's just kind of hard. They're helpful, don't get me wrong, and we're glad we can get them, but it's just not really what we need. We need somebody here at 7 o'clock with us that can
You
do
have to
some
check
things.
off a checklist of this is what we gotta get done.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But if we do that, we do need to get with College and Career Academy so that we're having a pipeline of those
Right,
students
right.
that are learning those trades.
Yep.
If they're working with you now for 4 or 5 hours a day.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly, and Maryland's got a request into the school now, so we are still, following that channel, so.
I've seen that with 2 plumbers and 3 electricians that came from our school. A year out of school and they got their license and they're
Wow.
very
I've got
successful.
a mechanic that's been with us for 2 years. 1 year, it's his second year starting, so
Right, and
it's
we
a
have,
benefit.
we have Dalton, we hired him full-time, and he's been an asset for us, he's still learning, but he's putting his head to it and does good work, very attentive, smart kid, We're definitely gonna continue to, pursue those students out of that, so. I don't know if y'all got any other questions, I'm kind of self-explanatory, I ain't telling you what to do.
Your work orders right now, that's basically work orders you're handling that would normally be contracted out.
That's what we're handling.
So, it's actually savings that we're not
That's
contracting
right.
out.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And a work order could range from moving boxes for Lolita to, rebuilding that bridge, just,
putting in a light bulb or changing a window, I mean,
Exactly.
a picture hanging.
That's right. Now, there are some things like, when the plumbing backed up here, we had to call Jeff Marler in to snake all that out. We just don't have the equipment to do that. But we try to do what we can, in-house.
I'm good. I think you did a great job, Rob. You and your department are doing a great job.
Well, I appreciate it. We care, we're trying, so.
I'll work on the desk.
Having a great weekend unless somebody got a question for Tom.
This is his birthday weekend. Yesterday was his
happy
birthday.
birthday.
Yesterday I turned 50, they lost.
Welcome to the club.
You gotta get together,
Yeah, absolutely.
pouring up or out or whatever.
You guys have an awesome day. Sorry to keep y'all here on Saturday.
All right. Very good. How about Dawn?
We got a few minutes.
Remember your.
I remember the 50s.
I can talk to y'all about some more of my stuff, or we can do a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. I'll take a,
Go for a call.
5-minute break and then get rid of one cup and get another one. And,
Y'all got it, right? That's what.
Yeah.
What do you think? How we doing?
Chick-fil-A and coffee.
I was in there earlier, but that.
Oh, yeah.
To get breakfast.
Shannon made coffee.
Shannon made coffee.
It's cowboy coffee too.
It's
Cowboy
good.
coffee, I don't
It's
drink
good.
coffee. What is
Oh, you
that?
don't drink coffee?
Man, they required the taste.
Oh.
I was with a grandma from Albany, Georgia. We had
So
tea in the
good. I think we're.
She was living in honey. Yes. All good.
Ooh.
What do you think?
I thought it was something on the website.
Raven.
There was, but
There was.
I was watching that last month.
Because I was looking all over that thing, and I said, I know that's.
There
was something on there.
So that's why I said 4 months.
Okay, well, thank
If
you.
you want to do 6, that's fine. I got no problem. But you got enough money to do 6.
Six, if you say four, I'm
We
looking
can do
for,
6.
I'm looking for your recommendation. You feel comfortable?
I mean, I feel comfortable with 4, because I know what he's saying.
All right, good. That's all we need to do.
Look, I saw you over there that look, I asked you. I was like, well, exactly what they need for district. Well, what did you say? I mean, we got enough to do 6, whatever. Okay.
I'm covered, that's all I wanted.
Okay. 4, our bills go out in December. 4 months to take me from September.
That's good.
Good, brother.
Hey, what's happening, bro? Good?
Good. You finished?
Yeah. Hey, just take a quick look at that.
It must be ahead.
I'm glad you finally got it.
It must be ahead.
So we can be brief.
You know, my meniscus is torn.
Well,
I'm not having surgery.
Are you feeling it like that?
Huh?
Are you feeling it like that?
Out there in the gym.
Okay. How long have they told us to do it?
I know
See, he told you to have surgery, Dr. Jorgensen.
Oh, do you have surgery?
Uh-huh.
But you said you not have.
I ain't had surgery. So I got 2 braces.
Wow.
I ain't having surgery. That was a long time.
Okay. How we doing?
How about you?
Good. Hey, we're rocking and rolling.
I'm telling you. I don't know, I'd come a little bit early.
We fine. We just found the chicken biscuit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a lot.
I'm good. I wouldn't tell you.
I told Sam, I said, there's some big ultras in here too. You want to? You ready? Is that?
Yeah, right.
You were in that hot seat until we got tired of you being in that
That's
hot
all right. He put you on roll in the back.
seat. That's right.
That's all right. Absolutely.
I thought about calling you the other day.
Supposed to be at cycling practice. Oh, my God.
What time?
No, I couldn't make it. It was 7:30. Yes. I wouldn't be here. 30 miles.
Practice?
Yeah, lay man, look, I went to the doctor yesterday, day before, 102 over 66. Heart rate, 54. 50 years old. And I dropped 25 pounds since April, colonoscopy. 205, 180.
Trying to lose?
Yeah, that was hurt. You know, I need to work
Do
on
it in a
my
minute, I promise you that. I was outside the police security.
Yeah.
We got a new rig up now, I saw a state trooper with it on. It's almost like the back places you used to see with the harness here. Well, they've got them for the gun belts now. So I was gonna tell Charles to we put it in chair C or something like that. I don't know of any back places roll around that we've had as far as the sheriff's office, but maybe something we could do. I didn't see that. It was hold the belt up. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I'll do that this morning.
All right, thank you.
Well, I go walk. Good to see you.
Love you.
Okay, good day. I gotta go check the form, I'll do 2.5 miles.
Thank you for your help. Well, you know, I know with her, she's that
I had
tired.
a tractor and I cut
She
it
just
in
has
half
to
now.
kind of keep
Running
it
the path around, probably my ankle. I was doing that. You can fight. You can fight. So I can tell
There is no telling. She is, she's very transient. She's been in the field, she's been
I stopped and did a drain spot periodically.
Whose birthday is it?
And now I'm trying to get her a car for $100. I've even told her I would sign one. I don't pay, I didn't know. My friend, it's my car. She's like,
I gotta go. I gotta go. I'm looking, I said, I realize he owns it. Being bought to my glasses.
somebody says, they need to replace it.
Always walk past it.
Why do you read that?
Never even.
Why they're not helping him. There was a male Karen, his picture, nothing like that.
That's fine.
Oh, yeah. I know it. I mean, I was, he was, president of the ball league in Charlotte all these years.
How can you somebody like that?
Flip flop every 2 years.
You're wasting your time.
Great guy. I mean, he does, he's the one who got it. Like, digging the weed holes out of the weed, and water, and then he can sing it money.
Well, he does.
Doing it. Residents like you. I told him, Jason told him we got a clearing position, okay, you need to retire and come on and fill that position. I got a polite interview out of that one. Sure.
Because there was many times that we watched videos on it.
The problem is, he is a working fool, and if he was to run a department or run a crew or something, he needs to have it running right, he'd run everybody off.
Hire.
He owns a metal buildings and steel roofs and stuff. He's probably 60 years old, and he'll be up on a 40-foot roof, and he'll tell guys, if you don't work as hard as I do, get off my roof. Mark Sharp lives over there in Graham Woods. East West Dirt. Little short, skinny fella. Sawyer. Daddy used to own Sawyer's down there where he sold the stand. These stands years ago, there on corner of Charlie and Gray Highway. Where the, across the bank was the, NASA road.
He's, I think his daughter, he's got a daughter,
Chelsea.
Engels?
Used to,
Yeah, she's a nurse now.
Yeah, just got her.
She read from.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he read, you know about it, I said, sir. You know, she's rented an apartment from me, I'm not. Oh, yeah, like, you, what kind of protection plan do you have? I'm like, sheriff's department.
Call her daddy.
They give me a once over, I said, sir, I promise you, if you go look at the apartment, if you don't like it, let me know.
Leslie,
You know, it's my little, she's moving in with a boyfriend, you know, this is my little girl, and I'm going, but you,
I shall have.
you ought to be worried about him.
National, like, weightlifter.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Like concrete.
I think she's doing the, bodybuilding.
Oh my God, roofing. That's a glutton for punishment.
He said he would never do concrete.
Look, it's funny because me and Katina were talking about something the other day. We came by, church
Keep
in
it out
New
there.
Orleans that know why the roof is like a pitch, and it's like 12 of these pitch of little basements. And I'm driving down the road and I'm looking at it as I'm driving by, I was going, I hate to know I had to do that roof. And Katina was like, yeah, my dad made me help do the roof one time, and I promised I would never, ever do that again. I was like, I mean, and the roof was like this. It's over on Green Street in New Orleans, some AMC church. And I mean, no lie, like the pitch of the roof was like this. But then this roof line and this roof line is like this. And it was like 12 of them.
It's foul.
And it was, well, it was already rude, but it's just, I hate if I had to leave that.
So.
Raymond, as they call it, he said, have you ever seen a 1612 pitch? And I'm going, you know that's horizontal, right? I mean, that's vertical, right? He goes, that's what I told him, so what in the world? They wanted to house with that. He goes, I won't even hear folks, you know, 1612. Why?
All right, so, okay, show me what that pitch would be.
16, well, you know, 812 like this.
Right.
So the bigger the first number,
I don't get it.
12 is 45 degrees. Yeah, 45. This is 1612. Then he said, you like, do you realize how high that is? And they wanted to do a glass on it.
So you know what?
Not only that, but their heating bill.
That's not coming up from my bank.
You just know, I don't care how little windows you have, it's gonna cost you there.
So when I say you don't need it, you see, I'm thinking,
Stuff like that. More effective for it, plus there's wood, you know, snow, that's why I ain't gonna get that much.
But there's traditional in the South, there's no reason. I would. Aesthetics or angles. This was where it's triangles all day.
so Shannon, I'm gonna go ahead. Is this the same one you're gonna put on here?
Why do you put that on something?
Yeah,
Your area, put it on 1212. But the glass across this whole glass. And that's how,
do we have any Georgia subs going down around?
Hey, y'all ready?
It's both sides of the
Y'all
church.
ready? You ready?
Right, so that's what's on there.
Y'all are ready, we'll continue on. Yeah.
And that's both sides of the church. Could you imagine?
Don, it's all yours.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to rock and roll on this.
All shingle tiles.
We're 10 minutes ahead of schedule.
I mean asphalt shingle.
So just go ahead and tell him no when he gets up there.
Yeah.
All right, get the list.
No,
Get the,
I'm not
get
listening to this side.
the two and the one and the done.
Leslie, you got the special one for Dawn, right?
Now.
No, all you gotta do is cross your eyes with me.
She wants to eat.
We got people behind me. You're good. Oh, that right there's the one.
She gonna start slapping up through.
Yeah. I just said you're a tough customer.
No, you didn't.
No, I did. What he said is she scares me.
No, because he called me in the late midnight hours while I was able to do
Because
it.
we know you're up working.
He knows you're here.
Now your time to start.
Okay.
Love it.
Okay. I'm concerned about the line item for employees. First of all, for the regular operation thing, I put $40,000, or I'd asked for $44,000 extra dollars to run our part-time people on the weekend day. So 24/7, we will have part-time person during the day, 9 hours a day, for an extra $44,000 on that part. I wanted to get that out. That's not being shown today at all. What I'm here for this morning is the 9 full-time people we're going to put on duty. 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days. When do we bite the bullet on that? I know it's a tough call. It is a tough call to sit here and ask. We've got to do something, whether it's now, whether it's 2 or 3 years, whether it's after my service. 365 days with 3 people on will be paramount to the county.
How many different stations would that be in?
3.
And what stations would those be?
1 downtown
Uh-huh.
and 6 out of River North. Those are our 3 busiest.
And how would that affect our ISO rating?
Without a doubt, it's going to pull down our response time, which is a big one. Our training is where it needs to be now. So, we're at a 5 right now, and a 5X, 5Y. I don't quite understand the Y and disease and all this other stuff. You're either a 5 or you're not. Then points are reduction if you don't have water in that area.
Right.
That's where that goes. Scoring a 4, we're 5 now. Scoring a 4 is not going to bring that insurance rate down, but only just a fraction. Not like we did in I think it's your area there in the industrial park. We went from a 10 to a 5 like that for a phone call, and that can never be done again. There's no way. Not this day and time, but it did, and it worked, and it made a big difference. But going down to a 4, we may see a deduction of $30 maybe per household. It is what it is. There's not many of the insurance companies that really acknowledge the 4. Now you get down into the 3 classification. Now you're talking beans. That's, if we work hard enough, and I'm not cocky. I'm not, I'm a big wisher, I am, I'm a dreamer. But I think that we could take it to a 3 if we worked hard with those 9 people. It's scary when I look down and go, 9 full-time employees. Well, it's only 3 employees every 24 hours, A, B, C. We've got to break it down, and Jay actually did a great job with this, and it helps you illustrate. I don't know if you're.
So you would still be staffed with every day for 24 hours, you would be staffed with a full-time and the part-times?
during the day,
So you would have how many people there daytime?
6.
Across the.
Across the
Right,
3
right.
stations?
Right,
Okay,
2 people with 3 stations.
okay.
right.
And you anticipate the response time maybe going to what number? Just out of curiosity.
Probably 5 to 6 minutes, right in that area.
What are we now, 12?
No. No, we're, no,
I mean, if they're on
honestly,
a call and you gotta send somebody from another area, yes, you're gonna be at a higher cost.
If they're on a med call already, a med assist, or
Yes.
anything else that goes on that's a nuisance call, it's home delivery.
we're slightly over 8 right now. And I've got the charts to see that, and they're pretty and all that. But what we get down to is,
If we got 4 calls going on at the same time, there's gonna be a delay somewhere because
We
you
know
don't have
that.
the personnel for that.
we can't stop that.
Right.
But hopefully, volunteer will, what I look at is these guys right here will assist our volunteers.
Rest of
Yeah.
So we've got 100 volunteers out there that, they're gonna assist our guys.
I look at it as their presence on the
Right.
programs and their.
Yes.
And also look at it as, if you've got volunteers, they don't have these pumpers sitting at the house with them.
No.
Somebody's gotta go to
Station.
the station.
Right.
So what I see is the time travel from their home, from the time they get to wherever they are. They may be 2 miles from the station, or they may be 6 miles from the station. Somebody's at the station, they're rolling in, and then the help comes right in behind them.
That's the big deal right there. When that bell rings, somebody's calling for help, somebody's en route within about a minute and a half.
Right. So is it fair to say, Don, and I don't want to make this sound terrible, but the response time is the first person to get there. It may not be a first person with water to put out fire.
That's correct.
But
You're
it
here
may be
right.
the first person to render aid.
We want the first person to have water and first aid.
Right. I mean, that's great if it's a medical emergency, that the first person there is somebody, an EMT that can help. But if it's a fire, the first person to get there as an EMT is not really that much help.
Yes, sir. It's a big step. It's a lot of money. If it's approved, there's other things that work in play too with this. Is they're going to be doing their own paperwork. They're going to be doing the whole 9 yards to make this whole department pull together and make it better, from paperwork to response times to hydrants. We're in arrears with that. We need our people to be servicing these hydrants. They need to be greasing them and then painting them.
Water department now, we're looking at, right?
Yeah, but see, we can still assist that.
Yeah.
Take a weed eater out there and make it a nice presentation. That's the way I look at it. Y'all are eating junk.
Okay, Don,
Yes.
prioritize what would you, I mean, let's just say, I'm not, for instance, prioritize 1, 2, and 3. If you couldn't do but one, I need the 1, 2, and 3 as far as.
Well, we started out with one. That's what we started out with when I went to Station 1. That was our busiest station.
Okay,
Then we added another one, which was our second busiest, is in 12's area, which is great. You gotta think about rescue in there too. The medical emergencies are saturated downtown.
Yes.
So you got to have a man down there.
one night. If you sit there and took a
Yes.
whole picture, number 1 would be city grass,
Yes.
and then number 2 would be number.
For right now, we've got 9,000 kids coming to school every day. So, yeah, this area is the busiest. We've already made 2 or 3 visits already to the schools. And then alarm bells, fire alarms, we've been up.
And then you're saying River North, up River Road.
567 dwellings there.
Yeah.
And they're just about all senior citizens. The people bought in the 70s and 80s at River North. Now, boom, all of a sudden, we're getting medical emergencies, lift assist, signal 42s. It's busy up there.
Right.
And people don't want to go to the hospital, so they're trying to doctor themselves, and they're calling us.
You mentioned something earlier. If we just got to the $4 to $30 deduction, and it's not significant, but you know, when I talked a little while ago about fire fee, it just seems like it would balance itself out, but you get those resources. And I know I sent an email back about some specific questions about getting there, and I didn't get a response, and I also asked for a work
I've got
session.
it for you.
Okay.
I've got it.
All right.
It's actually sitting on my desk, but this was a priority.
I understand.
That's
That's for this board too, because I asked for a work session about it, because I know there's some things that we've been kicking the can on for years, you know, equipment trucks and of course personnel. And to hear those numbers about even River North, I had no idea. I thought about it. Like Lake Wildwood is one of those old established, River North is one of our old established neighborhoods. And then I thought about the proximity to the fire station and to the furthest house away, right? How long that would take. And now that I have the age number, that just makes it make more sense.
And it pops. I got to figure this thing. When we moved to Georgia, and that was the place that Mom and Dad were looking at to live. Of course, I was only 15 at the time, so I didn't have any say-so. But the people that moved there from Geico and all that, they're gone, or either just sitting in the house retired. And they're getting sicker and sicker and weaker and weaker. And then over half of those are 2 stories, which comes into a ladder. It all plays in, this whole big thing. The main thing is supporting these 9 people. But we've got to find a way to sustain it. I don't want to come next year and say, guys, we got to pull back, it's a little bit too much. We can't pull back, we can't look back. It would be the hardest thing to do is tell somebody this was temporary. If we don't get the nine folks, that's okay. We're starting, we're crawling, but please, if we can get the part-time folks for at least 7 days a week, at least.
You started staying one behind him if he got scared.
It's a switchblade.
You scared me.
There was one other in there, I think it was the paint for the stations. Y'all, just, I don't even have to say anything.
Right.
Just go by, get a little bit closer than just the roadway and look at the paint on the walls.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, the AIDS looks horrible. It looks like dirty hands.
Oh, we appropriated money for that, maybe volunteers will
We
paint.
haven't got that.
It wasn't painted last year, since the last
Right.
painting cycle.
So we're trying to get it out the door now.
It is getting painted now.
Yeah. Okay, no problem.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jason rushed it on, so it will be painted before August the 31st.
Good.
That is great.
Much needed.
And I'll
Yeah.
say this too about the paint. I had a very smart person, that's a Jones County taxpayer, to tell me the other day, a taxpayer doesn't mind when something looks beautiful. Okay? If they know that we're spending their money to improve and make the looks of this county look better, they're not gonna question it.
I guarantee you they won't.
And Don, I just want to push you to this.
Yes, sir.
Look down at number 30, right, on the budget list. What you're asking to me isn't significant when you compare it to 30.
I know.
In terms of personnel, and the benefit that we get back from it, so never wait.
I think it's time.
It's time.
It's time to do this because I support the sheriff and your department. I mean, if that's 2 areas we can't afford it. Cut back on.
We, I know it's 1 minute left, but we need to paint. It's self-explanatory there, just right by the station. Just look at the outside walls. And then you can go by 5 and look at the roof too, so I'm gonna paint it too. sustainment. We gotta figure out how we need to trim some things to keep these folks that are gonna help us and guide us through the future.
You got you now. You give me a photo card on you. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Any questions for Don?
Got one question, Don.
Yes, sir.
On the volunteer side, like if we approve these 9 personnel, of course, they got a part-time during the day going with them. You got 2 people, one's running the truck, one can only sit in the yard and squirt water. You want to allow the volunteers to get there so you can actually make an interior attack if possible, if our
Absolutely,
teams say
yes.
to do that.
Yeah.
What are we doing on volunteer recruitment, retention, community outreach, things like that? Where are we at on this year's numbers? Volunteers.
Volunteers, we're under 100 now. That fluctuates every quarter or so. It's about every 3 months we'll have a change up. We'll have either one retire or one to move off somewhere, or they're been deployed or whatever. Volunteerism has been rough everywhere, but I only think about Jones County. We're so different, and I've got 5 in the hopper right now that are fixing to be trained. John, it's been tough. You know how tough it's been with the volunteers. It scares me to death sometimes that it's been so in the rear. But this will help, but our numbers are down. And to be honest, it can be down some days. It's scary, to be honest. But that's volunteer, you know. Sometimes it's hard to sleep.
So yes, let me rephrase the question. What are you doing for outreach, rebuild, rekindle volunteerism versus other agencies around, like say Lawrence County? I'm just going to pick on them for a minute.
Right.
I hear them on the radio. You know,
Oh yeah.
doing community outreach. Hey, we need help. We don't volunteer like we do.
Right.
They're reaching out. They're beating the bush.
Well, we're doing our signs. Of course, we always do a sign a couple times a year to bring in volunteers. Right now, I got a unit sitting in front of Eagles right now. That's our way of politicking to get volunteers. They see our new truck, the newest truck's out there. It's blinking and it looks nice, and people are asking questions. Nothing beats that, but
Don, I can put it on our website.
that would be wonderful too.
Any way we can get that word out?
So, real quickly, I don't know if we can tie in the school kids, because that's, you know, your volunteer age too also has an impact on it. If they can get school 18, so seniors, but at least creating that opportunity. And I know that there are prisons that have, and I don't know if the sheriff is okay with this, but for those, you know, that may be an opportunity.
That we can do that. They do that. I will say this. I've got 2 that are in the schools now. Deanna Spires. She teaches at Votech with the first response, and she's steadily all the time sending people our way. The biggest, I think, is the word of mouth and the enjoyment and the honor. We can't get enough of it. Chris, we can't. We got to put up signs. We've got to shake the bushes and get into the schools. Like I said, I picked up 5 in the last since the first of the year.
Well, and I'll say this too. We come from a generation where we volunteered and we served. Our kids today that are in the schools, their parents are not those volunteers. The schools beg constantly for volunteers now too, whereas they used to have parents in the school all the time. And this is pre-COVID, post-COVID, it doesn't matter. So the word and the charity giving of your time to your community is something that is very much different with the generations now versus the past generations. So a different mindset's gotta be put into this, and I don't know what that is, cause believe me, the schools beg for it too, I'm sure Bibb County is the same way. So,
It's tough.
the newer generations do not, they want everything given to them, but they don't wanna give any of their time to make it happen. They wanna be paid for it, it's not a giving part. So, that is a big difference in this.
We're very lucky of what we have right now, in place right now, we're very lucky. Should we do better? Yes, we can. And we could do more to recruit, John.
At each one of our upcoming community events, let's take those as opportunities to be out there, be present.
Big opening day, football season coming up, you have a couple of thousand people at the Jones County Rec Department, have some trucks out there.
We would probably be amazed at ours.
They will.
Just trying the equipment, I mean.
But no, I'm with you. With our paid folks, they will be out there.
You would be amazed how many people in this community think that it's strictly a full-time fire
Oh,
service and do not have any clue that it's a volunteer agency or they could even apply or volunteer. You'd be surprised.
Facebook, I'm sure you got Facebook on.
Yes, sir.
Make sure it's linked to every one of the community Jones County pages.
Shareable, so we can share, because just, you know.
Well, Sheriff has got a good one.
Oh,
That
yeah.
just popped in.
Yeah,
I've been waiting on that one. That was a good one.
Yeah, he's,
I can't wait to talk to him about it.
thank you, Don.
Yes, sir.
Tax assessor ready?
I'm always
Ahead of
ready.
schedule.
I'm always ready.
Hey, John.
That next one, tax assessor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Good news. Every time I meet with you, I can give you some information about how we're doing and what we're doing.
Orange is the new purple. I said, orange is the new purple.
That's right. I know you like your shirt.
Orange is the new purple.
Yeah.
As long as you don't have a call print on the front of it.
Oh, okay.
Or a bee, or a war eagle, or
Two documents here. My name both of them.
I'm a Boston Celtics fan, but I'm gonna say this out loud. On this particular sheet, you should put like, there's just put Tumbo, New Ball. What did y'all have down there playing? Basketball? No.
Oh, that's what we're talking about,
Yeah, Tumbo, thank you, you know, so I can't, but yeah, no.
You have another one?
Put him in the water.
You have another one? Okay.
All right, first sheet you'll have the appeal counts last 6 years. You can see they've been going down year after year. I'm pleased by that because, as you know, our job is to keep up with market value. The market value has exploded over the last 12 months. And we have to, change assessments. And we do it in a way that is correct. We do a third, and a third every year. We don't hit people with enormous high increases in 1 year, which other counties do. So that is the reason why our appeals have gone down every year. Staff has done an excellent job in valuing these properties. All right? Second page you have is what I give you mostly every time I see you, is the new county assessments and new county cash revenues for the last 6 years. You go to the second page. You will see this year's real property, $36,781,520, and new cash revenue is about $529,000. Personal property, $1,085,722, about $39,044. It's about $568,000. And you can see we've been consistent over the years. You know, the totals are $259,945,703 over the course of these years. Cash revenue is about $4 million. As you remember, as I always tell you, 85% of county revenue comes out of the tax assessor's office. So we try to do our due diligence and making sure that everything's picked up and assessed properly. All right? Reason why I'm in front of you today, I'm going to take it from all, is the increase in the Board of Assessors per reading stipend that they get. It hasn't changed in over 12 years. And over those 12 years, things have changed. The digest has grown exponentially. There is mandatory continuation education that the assessors have to take so that they can stay current. And that's mandatory by the Georgia Department of Revenue. As digest has grown, their responsibilities have grown, and I think it's warranted after 12 years. I polled local assessor officers and what they're paid, and it ranges between 100 and 190 per week. So I think that the increase is a small increase for the work that they do and the service they provide is exceptional. So I'll have any questions that you may have about us, our office, where we're going, what you see.
Jackson, the pay scale set by the state, that's something a lot of the stuff is mandated by the state.
This one's not, this is entirely local.
Yeah. Chairman, I will say, I thought about this too, you know, we've had to increase, not had to, but we've increased salaries recently to stay on par with the market. This will not be an increase in 12 years. I agree that we need to do something. I don't know what those numbers, maybe we look at, like you're talking about counties around here, but I will say I've talked to people on the tax assessor's board that mentioned salaries, and their comment was, we don't do this for the money, obviously, you know, but it would be nice to be recognized that our value's not 12 years old. Our values are today's current. So I would agree that there needs to be an adjustment in that cost we give for, I would say, volunteering their time, because that's basically what it is.
But they do have to go to school,
Right.
class on a continual basis. You know, that most other boards don't have to do.
I'm glad to finally see it. It's been a long time coming. And again, they do the work that a lot of people won't do for the most critical part of what we need, and that's resources. So it seems really simple.
Is this something we reach out and see what is, I know you've had some numbers, but is that something we need to reach out and look at other counties, our side, just to see if we're comfortable, or we need to, I'm not trying to say, you know, this is a good number, I just make sure that we are doing the right thing. Oh, you already done?
Mr. Chairman, I would say, time I served on the tax board, we would sit around at various conferences, and you would, occasionally the subject would come up, what does y'all's county pay? And some counties pay a lot more, and very little, small counties may pay less. But Jones County, in my opinion, was very low on what they compensated their board of assessors members. And this would be a fair increase.
Never done that.
Right, I would say, I'm good with 125. It's,
You know, the states, adjusting ours on January 1. I mean, it's justified. I was actually leaning either or, both directions. Are we too low with that number? Do we need to go higher? Or we, you know, I was looking at both ways. I mean, I'm actually.
No, I think the 125 is fair. I think it's a proper increase over the time period.
Compared to bid or
Baldwin, Putnam.
right there with that number.
It's hard to get somebody to serve the position.
it is. And still go out doing it for the money.
Just one more other thing I wanted to tell you, in our office, you may have 2 retirements in the next several months, possibly. That's gonna put a tremendous amount of pressure on our office, because as you know, you can't take someone off the street and plug them in to do the job that these people takes 3 or 4 years to train someone up to do this job. So, I just want to give you a heads up on that.
Is that something we need to start with if we're new employees now?
Okay.
In your succession planning, so I know that's hard to do, it's got to start with a 3-year, 3-year knowledge day one. It's kind of hard to make that plan, but do you have plans for, obviously if they're retired, they've got some seniority there, moving up into those positions and then hiring for a baseline?
Yes.
That might make it easier than trying to find somebody trying to take somebody from another county.
Well, that's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. Someone coming in from another county, I've been doing this 24 years, that's going to be difficult.
So,
That's going to be difficult.
do you need to request for some overlapping resources? Train simultaneously?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I would like to come back to you after things come together and let you know exactly what additional resources they can use.
Hopefully they'll give you a little time. If they know they're retired, they'll give you a little time of, hey, end of the year or next year, I'm planning on, that's it for me, then get somebody in here 6 months early to
Well, yeah, I mean,
be nice.
I would like to do it that way. I don't know if you would like to do it that way, but that's the way I would like to do it.
Well, you make a valid point though, that the level of training you've got to have for day one is not something you can come in and say, I'll learn it on the job. Otherwise, you got an empty spot for 6 months to a year, minimum.
Right. You have to go to class, you have to take tests, you know, it's a lot of training that goes into those positions.
I'll get with you next week and we'll come up with.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? Ms. York? Thank you very much.
All right, thank
Enjoy
you.
your weekend.
Thank you, I'll try. You too.
I hadn't seen you downtown lately, I just wondered if.
Thank you.
Is elections ready? We're ahead of schedule.
Yes.
Woo-hoo, come on.
That's what I was hoping for.
All right.
You didn't want to spend the whole day with us?
No.
Oh, come
I
on.
really enjoy your company. I appreciate it, but I'm already so maxed out, I'm overtime. I'm ready to go home. I get it. Okay, a couple of things I had ready to talk to y'all about. I was told that they need to go to a different route, so. Okay, the first thing, I've had an open position in my office for quite a while. My pool of applicants have not been satisfactory at all. For what we are willing to pay somebody to come in and take on these responsibilities, these folks can go to Dairy Queen and make that much money. From what I'm getting, either retired folks that are looking for something to do, which is exactly what I do not need. I need to hire somebody that I can train to take over for me. I mean, I'm not far from retirement myself. I don't want to leave this office in the hands of just anybody. I've worked too long, too hard, too many years to get it where it is at today. They just walk away and say, okay, I'm done. So the first thing I'm asking is my assistant needs to make a little bit more money. I'm suggesting 15 an hour. It started off a little over 12 from what Sydney left. I did find one applicant I was very, very interested in. She wouldn't come to work for under 15. Shannon ran the numbers, went through the salary study, according to the job description. Because supposedly we're not busy over here, which I can't figure out why I can't take the day off. But I need somebody in here that's
capable of learning, and then is willing to come to work for $15 an hour. I mean, it's going to take at least half to get the right person in here.
On our salary study, is it, how are they, I guess how do they calculate that? Because we talked about this earlier about minimum salaries in all departments, where we were talking about the Jackson and Dairy Queen starting at $15 an hour, that how even at our lowest salary, you know, how are we competing if somebody flip burgers for $15 an hour, and then we ask them to, you know, do county services for less, but
I think the problem we're having is we had a salary study done, and according to that salary study, that's what it came back as. Even with the adjustments that we've made to the salary study, I mean, are you allowing me to go in and make these changes?
no, definitely, that's where our fine line is, and our hurdle is, I think, is we cannot, in my opinion, pick and choose which salaries to increase because we can't get the applicants. We're having a problem with applicants across the board. But that fine line is, how do we make sure that our salaries are competitive in the market so that we get anybody, because we want quality people. That's the tough one. You gotta, I know we struggle with getting applicants, but if we have an application out there for 6 months to a year and we're not getting anybody qualified to do it, and the ones we are talking to are saying not for that, we can't get anybody for the salary. Maybe we'll go back to them and say, did we not describe the position right? Because that was what we saw.
But they're saying, I didn't describe the position, they went talk to the employee. The employee told them what they did, that's where they came to that conclusion.
But I don't think that is a salary description at this point. It's what's happening in the market, right? It's scarcity, it's the job and all that other stuff. But whether we market, I don't think we have to do a whole salary study all over again. We just need a market adjustment for, it appears, not just entry-level positions, but positions that are technical in nature. That might be a little different than what the markets will bear. And the fact, again, Jackson's here, and it's $15 an hour. Why? So that's what market.
Yeah, we can be sued personally. I mean, we can serve time if we screw up in the office. It's not like just a clerical position. With the salary study with this position, it was described as a voter registrar. I need more than that. I need an assistant director.
And that's what we need to look at. If somebody went in and questioned me what my job is every day, my real job, I know I've got to be very detailed, very much oriented in everything that my job touches, not just in this day, but the whole year. And so if somebody went in and questioned somebody else that works in my office that, oh, I come in the morning and I answer the phones, and if I have to go drive a bus, I go drive a bus. So if they didn't sell their position to this person that was doing this salary scale, their position isn't important. So we might need to look at that across the line too.
That's gonna be hard to do with the people we contracted with. Basically, I would say we had one shot, but we had an opportunity when the person came in and talked with the department. What happens is, and I've seen this happen so many times, the companies that did the salary studies, they're looking for where to put this job description on a predetermined job title.
Right.
And then fit that position. But like she's talking about,
it's a whole nother position.
If they described a registrar, and a registrar is not what this person is doing on a daily basis, that's a title change. And if it's not already on our chart, do we get this company to say, okay, that's a different position than we're talking about? Yes, if what she does is worth $15 an hour, not he or she, not what he or she was told was done based on that position. So that's a different.
So instead of advertising it as the Board of Elections, advertising it as a assistant director.
Well, first have to get mine changed from election superintendent to director of elections. But we need to do that during an open meeting.
So or your election supervisor. It could be an assistant supervisor, whatever the title is. The title, but I will say this now, we've got to be careful about changing titles to get to a position, because then every department's going to say, well, I need an assistant director, or I'm an executive director, I need 2 directors and 2 assistant directors, because I need their salary to be here. I think what we've got here is a job position and job duties that don't match the salary that needs to be. And sometimes it matters what the title is to get to that salary, but I honestly think if there's other people doing the job that she needs done at a different salary in other counties, we got a problem, because our salary is lower than what it should be. It don't matter if it's an assistant supervisor or a registrar 4 or whatever. Same job is being paid less than what other people, because they're saying, I can do that job, but I'm not coming for that amount of money. That's the problem to me.
Your title is election superintendent.
Correct, and by definition, according to the elections code, the election superintendent is the board.
Yeah, it has election superintendent / board member, that's what you're.
Yes, I am chair of the board.
And then the other position is elections clerk, that's what that was.
Right, and that's what needs to be changed. Like I said, I don't need it like a data entry clerk. I need somebody that's gonna learn the laws, follow them, and help me implement them.
You've got some thoughts, I can see it. It's like, the wheels are just spinning.
Go ahead.
No, you have to look to right, no, he's spinning. All right, Commissioner Barker.
No, and Wendy wanted to go somewhere.
No, I'm looking at you.
Oh, so I'm struggling just a little bit, and I hear exactly what Sam is saying, and I don't want to go back and change up a whole bunch of titles, but I want to fix what's broken, right? So that part we need to do. And I don't want it to be a fire sale across the county. Hey, everybody's going to come and change my title, right? But we got to fix this stuff that's broken. But levelizing it compared to like we always do, but making sure you have the information you need to make sure that the position is right. Because in some way there was a disconnect, I think, with what was available, what we do, and what got put into that position, right? And
Yes.
that's on all of us to make sure that it happens. And then I started thinking about the board, your actual board. Has that board been assembled? Is it meeting?
We do have our board members. We are not meeting as often as we should. In order for my board to be effective, they need to be trained. Do we want to pay for them to go to the annual conferences?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that's the other
Then
part.
we need to check that in the budget.
Yeah, we need to fix that. So,
That's
and I
not
didn't
cheap.
see that, so my brain was, and I was asking her that question too. So I want to fix all of that right now, right? Because your board is only as effective as the training and then what you provide, and also what we hold them accountable for in terms of the expectation. Because we have a big election coming, and I don't want you having to answer any questions about what we did or didn't do.
I'm answering this question every day, so I'm running money.
And then the compensation too, because all of that was happening with me at one time, and I thank you for appreciating that. So make sure that that is levelized as well, so we get the right people on the board for the right reasons, and we're making sure that they're subsidized appropriately. And again, I want to ask this question: are we market-wise at entry-level positions competitive to jacks? I hate to say jack.
Some of the positions no, but, I mean, I don't know how you want me to fix that.
That's a real issue. I mean, we almost have to do something to be competitive with the market, right?
I mean, Jax is a $15 an hour job, part-time position. And some of our positions do not start
12.
at $15 an hour.
Right. And we know that some employers will pay more for part-time work because they don't have to pay for benefits and all that other stuff. I understand that. But we can't even get employees, right? You know what the numbers look like, applying for jobs. The numbers don't even make sense. You're not getting quality employees, and we have to do something from a market perspective, not just position perspective.
I would say, since we pay for this company to provide a service, we paid a dollar amount. That's done and one and done. I would say either this company or any company, we take our salary survey and figure out which one of those are problem points. And go back to this company and say, let's identify where did we miss the boat at? Was it the job duties they actually performed? Is it the side of the market that we're not, because I feel like this board, as soon as we did the market study, we were gone for a year with COVID, everything went crazy. We came back and gave a 4%. This year we increased it to a 4% on top of the 4%. So we've got 3 years of 4% increases in 2 years' time. We didn't, as a board, I don't think we missed the boat in providing salary increases to keep up with the market. I think we've got to a point now where if we have 100 positions and 15 of them are out of whack, we look at those 15 and see, are they all needing to be at a minimum of $15 an hour, or do we have labor positions at $13 an hour with full benefits, and Jax is paying $15 an hour part-time, no benefits? That's an equitable salary to me. So those are things I think we look at in salary study. But for her position, I think that's a one-off we need to figure out. Why are we not at the marketplace to get somebody qualified for that?
And please put in the training and the board requirements too, that's essential. No different than the tax assessors board and anybody else's board, yours in particular.
Yes.
That makes no difference.
Okay.
That makes on your board.
3, including myself.
I think that's determined by the political structure, right?
Yes. Each party.
The two parties.
Appoints.
We can get one more if we have a third party, but
No,
we don't have that in
It's ugly enough out there to
Your
do.
board members participate, each meeting that you call, they help.
Yes, sir, and they're always, they come in during early voting, they come always there on
Yeah,
Saturday.
yeah.
Yes.
They're on point. I promise, they're involved.
Okay, so, I guess I'm gonna go back and fix the training section of my budget. And I'm also requesting 2 part-time positions, year-round. Elections aren't what they used to be. Like I said, I'm still answering questions from 2020. Every time I put my paperwork away or file something, I get another open records request. We want to see this. Some things that I get in requests for, I don't even know what the heck they mean, because it's got to do with the new Dominion voting system. So I have to research that from a technical standpoint. And then usually my best bet is to reach out to other families and say, what is this person looking for? Who else got this request? And I'd like to answer it. We do stay very busy all year long, whether it's an election year or not election year. The 2 part-time people I'm looking for, this is where the little clerical duties come from. Stuffing absentee ballot envelopes. I feel like, it's not right for me to make what I'm making, to sit there and put postage on envelopes. But I have to do it because it has to be done. Somebody's got to do it.
Is that, 1,500 hours, that's for 2 people, so we're talking 750 hours a person, 10 hours a week, is that what you're asking?
20 hours a week
20 hours a week,
for each person.
each person.
Which will also allow the office to stay open in my absence, and if something happens with my assistant. Because quite honestly, I'm ready to start taking some time off. That's why I'm desperate to get something else in there.
Mayor, what do you have to do to be on the board?
I was appointed by the
I
commissioners.
said, no, what do you have to do to become a member on your board?
They're appointed by the party. The Republican Party appoints one person, and the Democratic Party appoints one
Do
person.
you have to live in the county to?
You do. Yes. Love to have you, Veda, but come move to Jones County.
No.
Come on.
Should, I think she does live in Jones County. I live in
that would require a change of legislation.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Any more questions on the people on the part-time position? So you need some cars, it looks like,
Yes, have almost enough,
almost enough.
almost enough. About, I think 80 of them back in 2020, right before the 21 runoff. Need 10 more.
That's pretty good.
And other than it being uniform, the law does state that during a general election, we have to have one voting unit for every 250 voters, which is gonna take up every piece of equipment we have. And the only way that's gonna fit is to have them on these cars.
Questions on the car?
And bungee cords to hold the equipment down to the car so they don't slide all over and transport.
Any other questions on the board? Enjoy your weekend, and thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate y'all listening.
Like your sheriff's department yet? Want to move on to public works?
Let's do, Chairman.
Don? Your turn.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good to you.
I don't know what y'all got in front of you on that first. The fuel system we got down there, that thing is pretty old. They don't have any other parts they can put on it if something happens to it. And, we got a price from Ford here on 3 different systems, and the highest one was like $18,415.12. And the other one of them was $17,884.38. One of them $17,336.28. And some of them are like credit card, and I think the other one is like a key, like what we got.
And I'm gonna, because I'm looking at this same thing for transportation right now, because ours was struck by lightning. And I'm completely going away from a keying system to a code system where there's a code for the bus, there's the personnel code, and there's no cards to replace, no key fobs, because those key fobs are $24 a piece, and how many do you have to replace?
People lose them.
Exactly.
Break them.
And I will compare some prices with you too, but ours is a little bit more in depth than what you're getting, because how many pumps do you have? 2, a diesel and a gas?
And that higher number that's on your sheet is to add the same type of system at Highway 18 Recreation Complex and Jeanette's Road. Right now, there's nothing on those.
They just, yeah, we gotta have that. We had an issue with that on the control. And it does not tie into the system that we have, the fleet management system.
No.
Because we bought, in bid, we bought them all at one time so that your gas mileage tracks, your gas usage tracks with your mileage, so that it also goes back to, if you got a 20-year-old truck, and you get 8 miles per gallon, and your newer trucks are getting 15.
And this might be something that we could do inter-agencies, if I'm looking for the same thing, y'all are looking for.
It's definitely a guy.
Because I'm fixing to put propane in too, so that's why I'm looking at what I'm looking at right now. Because you're underground at Public Works, correct? So you have to do the same EPA, everything, and keep it up every month with your past things. We need to talk.
Any more questions on the fuel?
Leasing 2 rubber-tied backhoes. Our backhoes get pretty old.
At least two of them, you're looking at $4,400, $44.84 a month, and that's on a 5-year plan.
Maybe it's not right. That's what I'm looking at.
I would have to get with Tyler on that to try to find out. I mean, I would like for them to do the maintenance
I don't
on
want us to have to touch it other than fuel and grease, and I think it needs to be.
it and putting tires on it. Yeah.
You know, we're looking at the vehicles now, and we need to strongly look at this, you know, this will be a first step on equipment. And, when I've looked at the last 6 years, there's a lot of stuff that could have been saved that we didn't have to take care of.
So, this is a 5-year, 6-year cost.
60 months.
Okay, so this is the cost for 60 months, or is
That's
this
the per year cost.
So it's not 44,000.
All right,
No, 4,000.
these backhoes are gonna be put to use on in ditches and all of that. These are not gonna be used to pack the trash cans.
No. I mean, I got some around now. I mean, we go get them if we need them. But it's so much easier to have a machine out there than it is to move around, have to unload it, load it back up, go to the next one. So we try to leave them at the main centers that stay pretty busy.
Yeah. I think this will be a bid item, civil services.
That's what we were just talking about, you know, we need to compare whether buying them or leasing them as a 5-year lease, you know,
It's $265,000 in 5 years. You trade them out with X hours, you get some resale on it. You leave the lease, you turn it in, you have nothing to show.
I think we need to get a proposal, you know,
on both of them.
on both of them.
Buying it and
Right. Put that up as a, you know, for bid item, you know, like we just did
Will these be extended over the top of line, pilot control cabin air machines, or base log stick, open station models?
Do what now?
On these backhoes, would they be the higher end cabin air extended?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pilot controls, or they could be cheaper log sticks, open station?
They got a price on here, what it costs if you bought it.
John, you know, while we're looking at lease, I mean, I see your motivator rebuild, we've been talking about that for a while. Is that something that we might not want to, I mean, how many hours you got on the?
This one here, they showing 8, but I think it's gonna have another hour maybe put on it. They got around, probably around between 12 and 14,000.
Right. Just a thought again, you know, we're looking at anything we can streamline our maintenance on. Same program again, if there's something to offer for motor graders, where we've got to swap out every so many years, it's gonna be a trade out, and,
if they'll do them, what we found is, like, when we looked at fire trucks, the big equipment like that, we don't use them every single day, 8 hours a day, so the usage and then the trade-in value wasn't the same as buying it. So if we were using it up every 5 or 6 years, the lease would be better than the purchase. But on something like this, if we're keeping it 20 years and still got good life out of it in 20 years, the purchase might be better than the lease. I think we just need to compare those. We never did it with big equipment just for that reason. A backhoe and a motor grader lasts a lot longer than a sheriff's car or lawnmower or a fleet vehicle.
One thing that on the motor graders that John and I talked a little bit about, we've got 6 motor graders right now. And we've typically got 2 running, sometimes 3. And so, you know, we were talking, you know, you might could sell 2 or maybe 3 of what we've got.
At least 2 of them.
And put it either towards the purchase or funding towards the lease. So that's something to kind of keep in mind too.
I mean, I put a star by the motor grader, but let's see what's our best option's gonna be.
That was gonna be my question, how many do we have and how many drivers do we have? Because we've got 2 or 3 drivers and 6 motor graders. They don't keep stuff not running.
I mean, at one time we had 4 running. You know, now it's mainly about 2, and if I need one somewhere else, I'll stick somebody on one and let them go around and touch up.
Keep 3, sell 3 and get a new one, and you got 4 running and no jump.
Well, one reason I wanted to keep the 12 inches is because of the depth fluid. You know, but that'd be up to y'all what y'all want to do.
I would say let's look at our options on motor graders. I'd like you to stay away from the.
I mean, we got, you know, the 3 Mack trucks got depth fluid, and then Jerry tractor with the back wing hole. That's the only thing we got. It's got depth fluid.
Well, eventually we ain't gonna have that option. Bruce.
No.
When they all die, we don't have death fluid. So, John, are you handling
We're plugging them into a wall somewhere.
How are you handling your depth fluid now? Is it you getting in the totes, or you just going to the store and getting little boxes of it, or how are you?
We got waterfall
You got it.
coming out, and we got I don't know, it's probably 250 gallons.
Okay. How do you handle that to get it from that tank in the yard to the mowing tractor out?
He fills up like a 2.5 gallon pint, takes it out there. The trucks, they pull up there. Got a hose, and they pump it in there.
I think, like I said, it's research on the motor grader, obviously, backhoe, and just see if our numbers work better on the lease versus, that's my thought. Any other input from the board? Any other questions for John? Tom, appreciate your time. Enjoy the weekend.
I'm gonna show try.
Bill's probably-
See y'all.
Bill's probably looking for you right now to get on the machine, eh?
Yeah.
We jumped ahead of you. You wasn't here, so we went ahead and let John go. But come on, we're ready to start.
Well,
We're trying, hey, we're rocking and rolling this morning.
Okay, I'm here, on time. First and foremost, I want to make sure pass these around. This is some QR code for Sheriff's Department's new app.
Already got it on our phone. We've been on that this
Good
morning. How
job.
cool
Good
that
job.
is.
Get my code done again.
That's how we stay connected to the people we serve. I wanted to correct one of the capital project requests that we had for, you know, salaries for deputies, jailers, and dispatchers. Our proposal was not exactly in addition to the 2% COLA and 2% merit. It was what the sheriff is proposing is actually foregoing the initial 2% cost of living, and we really want to try to get our starting salaries up above $50,000 for our deputy sheriffs, and that would be the starting point that we go from there. So we would disregard the initial 2% COLA and have the merit 2% merit on the back end when we decide to do that, and that would give us an opportunity to bring up our lowest paid deputies up to that $50,000 mark, and help with, and then stagger those increases from those officers that are making. So the initial cost of increase for a deputy sheriff starting out would be $3,500, and then for those officers who have been here a little longer, making a little bit more, over 60,000 would be 2,500, and then we stagger up to $2,000 after the $10,000 increase, and such as that. So that's where we're at on that. We currently have 39 deputy sheriff positions. We have 9 slots. We stay right around a quarter, 9 to 10 slots open at any given time. Those are actually starting to get a little bit better, but that includes 4 school resource officers. 3 of those slots that we lost we're pretty much sure that they're directly related to the officer that we had shot. So people decided they just wanted to get out of law enforcement altogether at that point.
Those were deputy slots.
Yes. That also includes, but does not include 4 security slots that we have open now, and that's for our securities in front of the government center and the courthouse. We have 16 jailer slots, 3 vacant. 12 dispatchers, 3 of those were vacant. Two of our newest deputies that just came on beginning of the year, both came from dispatch. So we prefer to hire from within, and the sheriff is also proposing that we move that starting salary up to 37. And that gives us a chance to both equalize both the starting dispatchers and the starting jail officers, because we instituted a new program where we're getting them both qualified or certified in both dispatch and in jail. So COVID ever strikes again, but picks his head up, which it's starting to do now, we can pull from either one to do those tasks that we need done and not be so overwhelmed in one department over the other. Because that's where mostly our overtime funds went to, mainly dispatching and jail, because of those incidents with COVID. What those vacancies have done, and I'm sure Ms. Levita will probably check on that, that has left us what I figure somewhere around $329,000 in salaries that we have not spent. And we're told to take that and offset any increases we're asking for here to try to retain the officers we have and recruit new ones, which is another reason why we started the app, because that in and of itself is that coupled with going to the recruiting sessions at the high school and local colleges. We started to pick that up again. Another offset is that we just got in, and I don't think we've sent it over to the county yet, was a payment from the Department of Federal Bureau of Prisons for about $69,000, and that will be sent over probably next week. And we're expecting another 25 for the fiscal year. So that was not, we were not requesting the increases over and above the 2% cost of living and 2% merit. We was going to forego the initial 2% cost of living and take 2% merit later on. We'll move those salaries up and we can compete with other departments, other employers, and so forth. The other increases that we had requested, and first we have a decrease that we had actually put in for, and that's in our vehicle maintenance. Because of the new vehicles that we were allowed to get with the recent SPLOST funds that we had taken, we have actually 9 new vehicles coming in. That helped us offset what we think we may be spending on vehicle repairs, so we reduced that actually by 20%. The CAD system and all that went wrong with that, with the SPLOST purchase and everything that was installed, and we went hot on it last August. Those include the first year maintenance on both all the computer systems and all the programs and systems and software that came along with that. But that's come due, actually came due the 1st of August, but we contacted all of our vendors, and they have graciously allowed us to put that off a month to coincide with the fiscal year. It just makes it a little bit easier to do it that way, and then to wait to have to prorate something for a year.
You know what those costs are, Chief? Do you know what those costs are total? Or is it in our, it's not in the special request?
No, it's not in the special request. That was individually. Actually,
that's going to be an annual cost, man.
It's going to be an annual cost, and including site maintenance for all the radio equipment and the CAD 911 computer maintenance and equipment and so forth, including the vehicle computers and everything. We have a figure somewhere around 78,000 for the year. That excludes everything. It was individually, we individually done that.
Okay, okay.
I've got one that I can give you,
Okay.
it's broke down here.
Okay.
Another increase that we unfortunately we had to request is, before I get to the building maintenance issue, is the investigative services. We requested an $8,000 increase there. And that was because of equipment and software programs that we have to purchase. Right now, much of our evidence that we require from any type of case comes from cell phones and computers. Fortunately, we have an individual who spent 38 years with the United States Postal Service, and that's all he did. That's Mr. Thompson. He's our IT guy, but he also does others. And the recent homicide, not recent, we had one back in 2000, y'all may remember, here in the city, and understand those cases get ready to go to trial. That information from those cell phones is the information we got and made that case. It puts in 2019, the sheriff purchased with confiscated drug funds a program called Pinlink. Pinlink's a program that you can put this data into, and it separates it out to where you can understand it and present it to a jury. And that has pretty much made this case, and we're expecting to do that. But every case we come up now, everybody has a cell phone. We take the cell phones, we do search warrants on that information, and that's just, we used to have to run to Atlanta, to a federal agency up there, and they would unlock those phones. Now we just do that in-house, and it just makes it much quicker and simpler, and we can keep those folks here. One more request, the funds extra funds we requested for salaries in the jail is actually to reinstitute a older position. We had a position where we had a full-time maintenance person at the sheriff's office. And when he left, that left a void that we just couldn't fill, so we reduced it to a part-time position, hoping to pay more money without benefits to attract somebody, and actually have attracted somebody, and he has probably saved us 15 times that amount of money on some of the stuff that he's done now. Last year, we replaced all of the air conditioning and air bags on top of the jail. We did it we had about half of them that went out, and we had to replace all of them because it was just simpler to rent a crane one time and do all the work on the roof, to fill the roof at one time instead of constantly having to replace that every time we had to replace it. All those have been replaced, but we still had to replace a boiler and a water heater, and that was pretty much around $18,000 that we just didn't have budgeted for because we just didn't know what was coming. So in our building maintenance, we had asked for an additional $8,000. That's because we're having some issues with the roof now. That's getting pretty old. And we've asked for, and I'm not sure how the board wants to do that, if we want to set aside a contingency just for that, or earmark a contingency that the board already has for about $36,000 just for building maintenance in case those emergencies come up and we have to replace something at that time. But that that maintenance person, as some of our, the main thing that we've done now, we got about, he's probably saved us probably $50,000 just doing maintenance himself. That's both on our vehicles. We have some plumbing issues in the back right now that we're having. The building is, y'all know how old the building is, and it's starting to reflect that in the maintenance. And he just goes in, instead of calling a contractor to come in and do that, and paying the contractor to do that, he just gets some parts, goes and fixes it himself, and then what all we're in for is the parts of that. Yep.
Start off, I said it to Don on his department, I won't say it again at the sheriff's department. I'm out from squad. The safety of the community, what we're putting up with surrounding counties, I had an opportunity, week before last, accompanied with my secretary, my granddaughter. She was there, she put a smile on everybody's face, and kind of an uncomfortable time. Told the sheriff, I said, I support you 100%. I should support John for 100% for the safety of this community. And we know what we're up against. We know what we're dealing with in our surrounding counties and what they're having to do. The sheriff's department's got to, they've got their plate loaded because it's not getting any better. It's only harder for them to assure this community's, where we're at. I said every day when I cross over that county line, and I see what could be where we're at. I'm proud when I run back in our county. The bad guys are scared to come into our county. They know they ain't well, we ain't gonna put up. You cross over that county line, I said I hate to say it's chaos.
It's getting more challenging to try to keep up with what we need to keep up with to keep the criminal elements around us at bay and still provide the type of community that people don't really expect. It's getting difficult. We're still putting the mission out there, what we need to do and so forth. And as far as that's concerned, but it's getting difficult to try to fill those slots, and it's starting to see the strain of all the extra overtime that we're having to use to ask our officers to do now, filling those slots that, just so you know, since this time last year, we have only received 4 applications for deputy sheriff's form. And we hired 1. The rest of them, I just didn't meet the standard that the sheriff has, and so we just decided we're just not going to meet that. So unfortunately, we have a look at individuals now that we wouldn't have looked at 3 years ago. We have to, because we have to put people out there. We're not going to put substandard people out there. And let's face it, we get what we pay for. That's why we want to try to raise those salaries up for those dispatchers or jailers, so we can get folks in there, we can see what we have, what we need, or need to work on, and put those people out on the road to represent the sheriff department in the county. So that's where we're at with all that.
Chairman, I will echo 90% of what you said, because as long as I've been alive, we've heard people come to Jones County because they like the small town feel, they like their kids in our school system, and they like the sheriff's protection of the county. And I think that comes from supporting the sheriff and the sheriff and his department, hiring quality people so that their reputation stays here and doesn't diminish like any of the counties that are around us. And I agree 100% that our barrier is our county line, that trouble is always trying to creep in, and we got to put the level of support to stop that and what it takes. My concern is exactly what you said. We lost 3 of them after the incident with the deputy, and we only got 4 applications, only 1 that was qualified. And I'm hearing and seeing this around the state. You see counties, well, I'm gonna raise mine a little bit more. Well, they start taking our good folks. We got to raise up to keep from taking them. I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't think that's our problem. I think it's a problem of people don't want to be in the law enforcement field right now because of
Social media.
the social media, the social environment, the state of our country, the state of the perception of law enforcement, just where our country is going. That's a tough one. How do we fix that? I mean, and at one point we can't throw enough money at the problem. We got to figure out. We've talked about retention incentives. We've talked about start off pay incentives, longevity incentives. We've even, I feel like consciously with this board, we talked about it earlier. When the times call for us to increase salaries to stay within market, we do that. We match that. I don't think that we are out of whack with surrounding sheriff's departments and stuff like that. I don't think we're going to lose people, even if Atlanta paid twice of what we pay. I doubt seriously if we're going to lose a deputy to say I'm going to go downtown Atlanta and be a deputy. It just doesn't, because the quality we got provides the environment that we got. So the environment we got complements the quality we get. So people want to come to Jones County because it's a peaceful community that we can maintain, not a volatile community that we got to get into control like some of our partners. So what is the answer to getting them to apply and then keeping them? That's a tough one when they don't want to be in the law enforcement field.
Most of that's the defunded police movement and COVID and all the recent stuff has not helped. The political atmosphere has divided everything. Nobody wants to help. We just lost a jailer to Frito Lake because he makes the same amount of money there. He didn't have to put up with potential lawsuit or violence of an inmate in one of the jails, in the jail back there. And it's the last officer we just hired, out of that 4 applications, this gentleman just moved down from Griffin. And they paid a lot more than we did. So he took a pay cut to come here. His wife now is employed up in Milledgeville because we just prefer not to have the same code that showed us that if you've got a married couple, then they generally are both out at the same time with COVID. So we try to stay away from that as best we can.
But I'm going to interject on this right here too. It's nice to know that if I have a traffic accident in Jones County, that I'm going to have a deputy on the scene within a few minutes to help write a report. Unlike surrounding counties that no deputy ever showed up at. So that is what we are paying for.
Right, and we are, of course, we are at par right now, or we were at par with Bibb County. But recently Bibb County just got a pay scale. And all of the individual officers that they lost to J.Q. Rickerson and that marshal service or whatever he had, they done got them back because they matched the pay. So that's where we're competing. So,
you know where they are compared to us now? I just had to look at their schedule.
they're we actually pay more than they're starting right now, probably about $500. We did. But that was their and I'm just going by an advertisement, and I'm supposed to be getting a copy of their pay scale. We're not looking to put it, we think that we, with the yearly, and let's face it, the board, y'all have been really good to us in the last couple of years. It has really helped keep what we have. We've got to stop the bleeding somewhere, and we've got to put that number out there and get these people who are going to Milledgeville and Bibb County and Houston County and Warner Robins and everywhere else in Monroe County, have them at least come here and at least put in an application so we can take a look at it.
So as you were talking earlier, I was doing just the basic research, and I looked at Baldwin County and the annual salaries right around $42,300. And then I looked at Bibb County, and Bibb County is a little more detailed. They give a range of $38,000 right up to $57,000, and that's non-certified. And their certified starts at 46 months to about 66. And again, we don't know the whys or the nuances that gets them that range. And when I heard you say 50,000, it's like, oh my God, 50,000 for starting. I understand the value and the quality of life we provide here. And as the outside guy, who didn't grow up here, who came from a city where crime was high, I appreciate the fact that I can leave my house unlocked and unsecured and nothing is wrong. My neighbor to my left reminds me that you can't put a price on that. I appreciate that. But also think about competitively how we do in the market and doing my due diligence and being a good steward of resources. I want to respect our pay scale and our study. I want to be competitive in the market, but I also want to do the other things, right? That quality of employment, career pathways, and the things that incentivize young folks as a school teacher guy to come into our system where we have a steady pipeline that doesn't cost us $50,000, but we can develop them along the way to get them there with some rapid certification incentives and things of that nature, and adding a little more quantity, because we're talking about quality too, and I still want quality, but we also lack some of the quantity in the pipeline, because if only 4 people are applying, we got a problem, right? It could be salary, it could be the employer. Not everybody likes the sheriff. I like him, he's a cool guy. I appreciate being able to call him on the phone, even when I get pulled over for stuff that I may or may not do. It wasn't the blue Corvette, it was the red one. But I appreciate that, but I appreciate the quality of life. So I want to dig out those other things and those soft skill things that the young people aren't getting or seeing in the insurance department. I'd be interested to know the demographic, who's applying, what the age group is, what the salary background is. And no offense, and please don't take this wrong, I don't see too many brothers pulling me over. I appreciate that too. But there are a handful of those guys out there, and women as well. I don't see enough of women in it. Right. Yeah, a handful. And I've been here 20 years, and I've just seen just slow creeps in that area. So all of those things that we can do to attract those different people, and I'm a fan of going all the way to the high school and introducing kids to the cadet program and bringing them through and everything else. So again, we have that quality and quantity that we need. Because I'd take $10,000, $30,000 Jones County kids that are going to learn the system, that really want to be in the system, than 10 people who came from Bibb County who just coming here for the money.
No, I agree, and that's why we are pretty much opposed to a sign-on bonus for law enforcement officers, because we don't want to give somebody a sign-on bonus, and then they, after the 3 or 4 years that they're required to work, they go to the next sign-on bonus.
Absolutely.
And we're trying to get people that actually want to work here for the long term, and that's our goal.
And I just heard the campaign for Bibb County.
And I can say this with some bit of experience with 30 years in a local government, being paid by a local government, and going through 6 salary studies, and I think 3 of them were actually implemented to the point of, we had this conversation on this board, there's no need to do a salary study if you're not going to stick to it, because if you don't stick to the salary study and guarantee those raises every year, then you pay for something that got put on a shelf, and then when you pull it off the shelf, it's useless because it's out of whack. And we've committed to that, I know, the last 3 years, and we talked about it this year. It's hard to guarantee every year because we have to look at the budget, but we guarantee that our intent is to guarantee that 2 and 2 every year. And I think we have to do a better job, not the sheriff's department, we as a county have to do a better job of selling that to people, because had they told me when I started in Bibb County, which they did because we were under a chairman at that time that believed in 4% increases every year. And we got them for like 4 or 5 years in a row, and then we changed boards, and we got them every 3rd year, or we'd get 2% cost of living, and we didn't get anything for 2 years. And then it was a time for 5 or 6 years we didn't get any raises. Well, all of a sudden, we're so far behind on the pay scale. But making that commitment and making it publicly known that when I come into a job, yes, I'm going to have a competitive salary coming in the door, maybe a little higher than all the counties around us, but I can feel confident that every year I'm going to get a 4% increase. That's what I think keeps your folks there, keeps quality folks there. You're right. I'm not a big fan of incentive bonuses to start with, because it always attracts maybe the one you want, maybe not the one you want, but it always attracts them temporarily because after, it may be a year, 2 years, and then they go, well, you know, guess what, they got a bonus over here, I'm jumping to Monroe County, because they got when they went up to, what was it, a $5,000 sign-on bonus, there was one of the, trash companies, Ryland or ABS or one of them, had like a $10,000 sign-on bonus. Guess I mean, they had no applications more than they had the week before, because it was just not.
There's not a pool there to pull from.
Well, they also knew that you're gonna be stuck at this salary forever, you know, so I think part of our support has to be with the sheriff's department and our other employees, that we are committed to maintaining that salary scale, which gives them a confident increase over the years, so that they can look at, if I'm going into law enforcement for 20, 30 years, I'm gonna start here, but I'm gonna end up here. Not I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna go up a little bit and stay and up a little, you know. It should be a comfort level that this is a job I can retire in, because I know where I'm gonna be when I get there.
I appreciate the military for laying that out for us, right? And very similar strategy. When you come in as a O or E1, right? This is where you are, and this is where you get. I think the sheriff's department, you know, I don't know all the career pathways, but you guys seem like you're creating a pathway that starts here. You know, and I'm not saying that's good, bad, or otherwise. You figured out that that's the way to do it. But I think if we align that with the salary component, so people understand that, you know, here's where I can grow and here's how I get there. But also some of those other components that attract other types of employees. And again, I'm going to go back to you, because there are a lot of kids who live here who want to stay here. My kids are gone intentionally. And I have one finally that decided to stay. So he's at Georgia Southern now, but he talked about law enforcement. I'm like, no. Yeah. One of the orders said teach. I said no. But I'm happy that he decided to stay in Georgia and is still considering some of these things. But there's a pathway, I think, that you create for a kid like that sees coming out of college, I can make $50,000. And again, you don't have to go to college to go to the sheriff's department to make 50 grand. But how do we get that talented employee that buys in to the community-based policing? And that's my thing. I really want them to come from the community, because they know, and it's real personal. I love to hear all the stories where everybody knows everybody and everybody's cat, and how they're connected. And I would like that from our law enforcement. And I think that from a resource level and an employee level, we can get that. I don't know if it's $50,000 per employee, but I think there's a system, and I appreciate you guys for trying to figure that out. I'm just hoping we can get 38,000 for some high schoolers that want to do this for real and create that pool.
Well, that's where it starts at. That's why we want to get that number up for jail officers. Matter of fact, the gentleman that I told you about went to Freedom Huddy was a black jail officer. And he was on the fast track. He was our guy to go to mandate to get certified to go on the road, and just chose not to. And desperately, we're trying. I think we're as diverse as any other department out there, and every one of our minority officers is in the supervisory role right now. But we got work to do. Like everybody else, we're desperately trying to find a black female deputy right now, at least to put out there, so those high school kids see that and know that there's a pathway to a career path. So when we put out advertisements for these things, we don't say, here's a job. This is a career path for you to go and move up as far as you could go. And so everybody has some work to do, but until we get but I don't think that we need to get into the habit of hiring people just because we have that. We've got to put quality people out there, and there's quality people of every race that we can bring out and make the best of the department. But until we start getting those people coming in, and we, like I told you earlier, we have we've applied for, and we stand a pretty good chance of getting a grant for 2 school resource officers to help with that issue and stuff in our schools, because our community is only as good as our schools are. And the Board of Education has graciously decided that they will take up that 25% grant process for it's a 5-year grant, but it gives us time to recruit and train those individuals. We'll have to pull them from our ranks now to fill those spots, but then refill those later, simply because of the requirements for school resource officers in that position.
I'm not telling you how to do that, but that's a neat space for a woman because it's safe. I'm not trying to be male chauvinistic, but
you're right. And then we have one woman there, and we're going to have to pull. If we get those 2 positions, we're going to have to pull from. If we have another woman that we can pull from, but again, I would prefer to have a black female officer that we could have to get some experience to go right into that, because that's where the future is going to come from.
Kids can identify early.
Exactly. I'm hoping also that they're gonna see the benefits of savings with our insurance, new insurance.
And that has been a big help. We did have a couple leaks because of that was an issue for them, and Monroe County got a good officer because of that.
Maybe they'll get them enrolled, won't make them come back.
He's pretty much, but anyway, maybe we can entice him to come back home, so.
I've gotten 2 phone calls, Mr. Kishner, I think you got one, but you asked for the phone number. But I've had 2 phone calls from citizens in this community, and I had one walk up in a store that took me 30 minutes, and yes, sir, we're working on it, don't worry about it, that support us 100%. I mean, he said, if it takes a tax increase, he said, I don't care. He said, ain't nobody in this community is gonna fuss. You know, but I'm scared to death when I'm sitting there looking at news and seeing what's going on, and I'm looking at Jones County, that this could be us if we don't make this right.
And it's getting better. We've got potential. This is a great county. Proud to live here, proud to work here. But, I just don't want to see, I know what can come if we don't, and once it gets there, there's no amount of money to get it back where it is.
Exact word was, this board right here is going to sit there and determine the future of this county.
Exactly.
What we make, the decision we make by this board is going to, and it was what you just said, there's no amount of money is going to get it back. And I mean, this 30 minutes I spent at the grocery store is like, looked like I didn't have ice cream, but it was, he just said, y'all are going to determine, where we're going.
And I agree with that, Chairman, and I'm gonna say this at the risk of other departments, and I hope they don't take this the wrong way, and I hope nobody does. I honestly believe that our job as decision makers and policy makers is to figure that fine line between using our taxpayers' funds for the best benefit of the community. And we weigh salaries versus services all the time. We do that all the time. But in my opinion, the services of our sheriff's office, our police department, our fire department, our rescues, first responders, is somewhat different than recreation, public works, even animal services, because those are services that are infrastructure, staple services that we have to provide. But you can put a tangible dollar amount on when the roads need to be repaired, or when the recreation equipment needs to be replaced, or how many services we provide for public. It's hard to put a dollar amount on the risk that you can put the public at if we don't have. And there's no way to say, well, if we have 6 sheriff cars, we're okay. Or, no, we need 9 sheriff's cars. I mean, that's a battle we always struggle with, but that I think we have to grade that on a different level than we do other services. In some way, how we figure that out, I don't know. But that's, we have to support our protections at all costs, whether that's life, whether it's property, or whether it's quality of life. We have to protect that with our sheriff and fire.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
No.
Any other questions from Sheriff's Department budget? If none, I'd like to take a 5-minute hot break.
Sure. You're welcome.
I'll be going back. Good job, Earl.
Thank you, man. What's up there?
See ya.
Gun girl, what's that? When are we supposed to come over here? Is it Monday? Huh? Monday afternoon? All right.
It's a Thursday.
Huh?
It's on a Thursday.
It's on a Thursday.
I think it's a Thursday in
It's a
September.
Thursday.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
It is Thursday in September.
Chief, I think you need to get that guy that was on
What's
Facebook
up?
and let him be your, intruder.
We're doing good. We're ahead of time. We're trying.
I mean,
I got a
after I
birthday
saw the
party
interview with him, and I
Chip
get
Lundy's
your
dog,
stuff.
he texted me, he said,
You might want to tell people before you do
Yeah,
something.
you know, he's gonna be at the haunted house. How we put it there, they contact me, and that's where he's gonna be.
No, that's fine. He explained it all to me, but I just didn't, and I just saw that, and I just wanted to clear it. Yeah.
Yeah, because he'll start you have numbers, and you're wow.
It's hard to put that in rules. Yeah. Sentence to make sure it's when you deal with numbers. Yeah.
You got
That's all,
numbers?
that's what I
You got numbers, Earl? Or anything, you got a flat number other than, so Jason, you want me to override our number?
The way I did that was I took the current salaries.
But that's not the current, you took our,
We need to
no,
massage
cause I
it
gotta
some.
do,
It's
I gotta
probably
do
not.
our actual as our payday current. Not as current fiscal year, because fiscal year was adopted after the two,
Well,
was
think we got one of
adopted
them back
before the
before,
two
yeah,
and the
yeah,
four.
we had one.
So that's not there, because you can't change that.
Yeah.
But I gotta go by what came out on your paycheck as of the last pay.
Yeah.
And then times that by four.
Yeah.
Let me get with Ms. Cheryl, and I'll get with you on Monday.
Okay, that's fine.
And we'll get that straightened out, because I wanna make sure that, I don't know why you, county folks like to deal with so many damn numbers.
I know, I
It's
love it.
ridiculous.
I love it.
I know, it's ridiculous.
I do. But
I
see,
see.
but what I go through is
You're right.
your paycheck, which
Right.
you times
He's learning to get on board.
then times the
I know.
4%.
He tells me every week,
Your
oh,
final
yeah, I
number
gotta.
compared to my number.
I'll get that all straightened out. I did a rough, and my numbers didn't include all the other stuff, that's why I'm fighting and all that.
Yeah.
Now,
Don't
Cheryl's
fight
did.
them. Don't put the fight them.
Okay,
Don't
I've
put the
got
fight
that,
them.
and I can give her, I'll just bring
This
it
is one that
to
she
you.
sent me. Okay, here's the one she sent me.
Better set up than last year. Last year was just almost 9 o'clock, so.
This is the one she sent me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This is where we're.
Now, where did she get this number from? What was adopted or was actual?
It's what, we took the numbers that you had from our.
Okay, so that's what was
All these
adopted.
are correct, yes, ma'am, by your numbers.
Okay, so these are what was adopted before the 2 and the 4. So that has, so those numbers are irrelevant.
Well, there was on the county form.
On,
For employee salary. So we just went and made sure that all those were matched up your county.
okay, I'll go back
Okay.
because it has to match that.
And so, this number would be.
It has to match this.
It is,
Okay.
that's what we started right here.
Okay, so that's the hourly rate, okay, gotcha.
And then we took that and added 4%, and then we did away with the first 2% off, right? And instead of putting these numbers to get this number to actually right here, actually, we're trying to get it above, we're trying to get it above 50. So this is why, here's, this in green here, this is what's starting.
Okay.
And so we took that number, that's the starting salary.
Okay, so you took out the 2% COLA.
I took
and put
2%
the 2%
COLA.
COLA on the end.
And took, no, well, I took the 2% merit on it. That's what this is here.
Okay.
And so we did away with the 2% COLA. This is what 4% would be.
Right.
From this number.
Right.
And we just said, like,
That plus this, gotcha. That's 46, and that comes to that.
And the further you get up to like this one right here, instead of 45,
It goes down, gotcha. I got you.
And then all of, that's just for uniform people, all of the civilian folks is 4%.
Okay, so you left the blank over in that other column, you put this.
So if you saw a blank here, it was nothing, it was just 4%. There you go.
We can, okay, I got it, I got it.
Say for instance,
Right here, Brianna.
yeah, see, that's just 4%.
Gotcha. It's called respect.
And then the last one was, the last one was, in our road crew. We were trying to get her equalized her salary up to level. We have Christina Chambers right now.
Yeah.
And she's just well below what everybody else is. And we're just trying to equalize her because it was
I
just
got another
fair.
question.
How's your knee? I got my life. I'm gonna work on it.
Boys, okay. Now, you know we get that money in, we get $1,042 in every single month. That goes in the revenue. That does not come over when you're on the Okay, but the board.
I got you. Look, man, I saw you tip there. Thank you, Chris. I get it as a citizen. What you said is
I mean, I like the safety.
You never will.
Well, no, they only do a percentage.
We want to do whatever we can to.
They give
If I can get everybody to get back started, because we might get out.
I'll tell you what, I'll get with them and see. Because it's supposed to be half. Half of
All right, Bert, go ahead.
I know, it's supposed to be half.
All right, just gonna go ahead and start off by saying, looking for an opportunity to present to y'all, mostly, as anybody in a new environment.
That put him low on the totem.
Obviously, everything's going to the sheriff's department, so I'm gonna go to lunch. But like I told Sam, as a citizen, I really appreciate what Sam said as far as, putting certain areas as more important than other areas. As a department head, come on. But, I get it. I mean, that's one of the things that attracted me to Jones County was just the schools, the safety aspect, the small town feel. And I feel like it's our job as county employees to do everything we can to protect that. So I definitely respect all y'all's decisions moving forward. Since I've been here, I've been mainly in kind of a observe and listening tour and seeing what I see in my first couple months or 4 months of work. And, the first thing you do in a new environment is you kind of learn to survive. What does it take to survive in this environment? What do we need? Making sure that, you guys are satisfied, the public's satisfied, and then just in general, all the needs are being met. And, what are our, immediate things that we really need in order to just continue operating. And then hopefully, as we move forward, we'll transition into the Thrive mode. This list right here, there's nothing really sexy on the list that's going to get the public jumping up and down and excited, unfortunately. But, I do feel like these are some things that we need to address so we can start taking those next steps and creating, new spaces and, improving certain spaces, getting new opportunities for recreation and that sort of thing. So I'll go ahead and start just by going down the list. The first thing is tree removal at Genesco. Some of that is for safety purposes, which we have several trees that are down, that are close or on the course, are dead, not down, dead, that, they could fall at any time. We don't want someone to, obviously back a golf cart into a tree and smash. So those have to be dealt with. And then there's one green, number 1 in particular, that there's just a lot of trees around it. This is more of a aesthetic thing, as far as just lifetime health of the green. Greens need to have sun all day long. And on number 1, there's just trees all around the green. And we can't get the green to do what we need to do until we get some of those trees down, because they need to have full sunlight. So just as a combination,
so this is the whole total course,
Yeah,
$12,000, not just one tree on one. I was going, man.
Basically, what we, we would get the safety stuff first, and then as many of those. We could get more tree work than $12,000, but I thought that was a sensible amount to
to ask for, as far as we get the safety concerns first, and then get as many of those trees near number one that we could get. Number two would be scoreboard repair and replacement, $50,000. And that would be a combination of replacing some boards and repairing some boards. So parts are extremely hard to get, if at all, for some of our boards. But they're very old. But what we might be able to do is, out of these 3 boards right here, we can piece together one board that'll work. Or it might be out of these 2 boards. So just piece together as many boards as we can get, and then get new ones where we need to. New boards cost between $5,000 and $7,000, according to if we're able to put them up ourselves. Our vendor has said that most rec departments are able to do it themselves if you already have the poles in place, which we do. They only weigh a couple 100 pounds, so if the wiring's already there and the pole's already there, that's kind of the biggest challenge. So, and in most cases, that's what they are. So for around $5,000, we'll be able to get new boards, but it really kind of remains to be seen how many new boards we would get and how many we'd be able to save until they really get in there and start working. But my first month here was during baseball season, and they were out the scoreboard repair people were out there 4 times within my first month, and we never had more than half the boards working at one time. And a lot of times when they come out, it'll be like, oh, I got to get a part, and it's 6 weeks later. Or, they'll fix that, and then 2 weeks later, it'll be a different problem on the board. And that's something that it just looks bad to the public, because to the public, it's like, how hard is it to get a scoreboard working? It is actually a lot harder. There's not a lot of people that work on scoreboards. There's less than 3 in the state that'll even work on a scoreboard. So, and the priorities are high schools. We got a football game Friday night. Do I need to fix that board or go to Jones County Recreation? It's always the board on Friday night that takes precedence.
And Coca-Cola's out of the business of paying for boards now.
So, and we're getting our associations that they're right now, especially having some pretty good success selling sponsorships for the scoreboards to put on the side, whatever, West Clinton Tire or whatnot. But obviously the sponsors, they want scoreboards working, so it makes it easier to sell those. So.
2 questions right there, and I don't want to belabor too much, but some of the scoreboards we've done is add a panel on the bottom, and the sign shop can do it. Add a 12 by 20 panel on the bottom that gives you 6 more spaces to sell for sponsorship. Using that sponsorship in a earmarked fund for board maintenance. We did that, and we got like $25,000 a year for scoreboard maintenance, just for dedicating those 6 spots for field maintenance. You're going to get their sign with the people's name on it, but do that. The other thing we done was make sure that the common parts, transformers, motherboards, bulbs, stuff like that, getting that stock of them and putting them in a warehouse, because those, especially the transformers and the motherboards, 4 to 6 week delivery time on them right now. If you've got 3 of them in the, obviously rotate them out so you don't have one sitting in a storage room for 5 years, so when you plug it up, it doesn't work. But those are big, often ticket items that should be stored up. So just a thought on that.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I just want to say this. I don't know much about scoreboards, but the plug and play modularization makes sense to me. And then you have to look down the road 5 years at parts and the longevity of that business being in business, so you can continue to maintain and serve that board. The new boards, do they come with those additional spaces, or is it always you add that to an old board?
You can design a board when you buy it, however you want it. It's a plug and play. Are our boards? That's probably a dumb question. Are they screw-in bulbs or LEDs?
Screw-in. And the ones that we'd be getting would be LEDs, which are a lot more low maintenance. That's the route we want to go.
I think we need to make some kind of generic fund to get all of our boards in the next 2 years to LED boards. If we still got screw-in bulbs,
We've got 20
school
school boards, and if we had 6 spots on them and sold advertising spots on those 20 boards, that's $30,000 at $250 as a sponsorship.
Remind me to get with you. I may have some help on some of this. We've changed all those boards. There's a lot of people that have those laying in parks piles, so,
Yeah.
because they are
Yeah,
so
well, we
awesome.
might could use some of them, because some of the boards we have are 20 years old.
To get us, yeah, we need to get it to a point, we need to do that though, y'all. We
I'd be
need to
willing to
find
say
road
some of them
race.
at the complexes, at the old complexes, probably.
Replacing the bar, but use sponsorship.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to replace our boards, because I'm gonna just say this, even publicly, even being county don't have screw-in bulbs anymore.
We don't have any LED, I think we might have, at Matty Wells, it might be a LED, but, that might be the only one we have.
Because it was the last one to get installed, the first one to break.
Yeah. But it would certainly be nice to, the $50,000 would get us going in the right direction. We could, no question, spend more than $50,000 on these boards right now. So, and I think to the citizens, if we just came up with a plan that said, look, we're gonna have them all replaced in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
We got this many this year that I think.
Just like we do
have.
our hydrants, just like we do our vehicles, just like, that should be a maintenance plan that we.
All right, the mowers, the 33,000, that's for 3 zero-turn mowers. That's really what we use for what I call all the bad grass. The good grass, we use different types of mowers that are a little higher end, but these are the zero-turn outside of the athletic playing surface mowers. And we're always having issues with those. I mean, they have high hours on them. It's always a fuel pump or a starter or, broken this, that, or the other. But since I've been here, we haven't had them all working at one time. And really, what we really need at all times is we need 1 for 49, 2 for 18, 1 for outside parks, and 2 for the golf course of those types of mowers. And as of Thursday, we had one of those working for all the parks.
I noticed this morning when I came up, there was a Parks and Recs
Yeah.
guy out here on.
Yeah, that was Michael, yeah. That was the one mower that's working. So that's one of the reasons why we are working some on the weekends, because we only got one mower going. So that mower's going all day, every day. And,
For the record, I asked for hours. I can't believe you're getting hours, you're getting out the mowers that we're running, but obviously they're not.
it's a good quality maintenance program.
Not a very good replacement program.
How many hours are on these lawnmowers?
Obviously, the one that's running has probably got 250.
Yeah, that's the new one. That was the
It's
new
got 250 hours. Now look, about 1,800 hours is max of what I do when I get rid of one. 2,000, 3,500. Now, I'm looking at the hours on all his equipment now. And John and Commissioner Wood and I have talked about this. The mowers and all that have the diesel engines, obviously 3,000 to 5,000 hours is nothing reasonable. When you're taking a gas engine on those zero turns and you're getting 2,000 to 3,000 hours on it, yeah, you're spending. I can't believe we're even considering running them. It needs to be like 1,500 hours, kind of getting rid of them, get a little money back out of them and replace them with this.
So is that a department head responsibility? Is that gonna come under the maintenance plan?
So like the vendor we're using for the vehicle stuff doesn't do equipment for us.
So that's why I asked the question. So is he gonna be in charge of that, or is that gonna be you, or is it only gonna go to building maintenance? Because we have all these pockets, and like my brain is like, how did this even happen to him? I know he inherited it, but how do we centralize that responsibility for all departments, right? And standardize it? Because we know fire department has mowers as well, right? And why you don't have a mower if the fire department has a mower?
Fire department does have a mower.
I know the fire department got a mower. He didn't have one though, but it's at the fire department. So that's an issue too. So just so you're aware, I think cross-county wise, we can use a mower anywhere.
Yeah. And we need to standardize what we use so everything has the same belts, the same blades, the same, and it's even to the vendor. I mean, I'm supporting local, 100%. But we need to make sure we've got a qualified vendor that can, there's a lot of vendors.
And budget it in every year that you're buying 2 mowers every year in the budget. So that next year you're buying, we already know you're in your budget, you're buying 2 mowers. The next year you're buying 2 mowers. I mean, that's something that we need to look at putting into to a standard every year.
We probably shouldn't have any mowers that are older than 5 years, you know.
Exactly,
you
because
replace
if you're buying
20%
two every year,
Yeah.
you're getting rid of some to, when you replace it.
But I'm thinking into this, obviously 3 mowers is a no-brainer, you know.
You can't steal any at your house, by the way.
I got you. But as you look down, there's a lot of things, and I'm not trying to speed jump or nothing, but in the past, this county's approved for purchases, there's an option in, is it Moultrie?
Yeah, we've talked some about that, through
Yes
the
or no?
budget process, but it's, I'd rather not do that for mowers. Yeah.
I ain't talking about mowers, I'm just talking about for some of these other ones, like
They got rid of it.
Due to the situation that the county is currently in, we don't advise
Okay, that's
that
all I
the
need.
county, directors or any director go to the auction and get any equipment for the county.
Okay.
It was sent to the auction for a reason.
Exactly. I mean, I've learned that lesson, buy new, replace new, sell out your old.
Like the aerator, for example, we got that from an auction a couple years ago, and it worked good for about 6 months, and then once you needed parts, there was no parts to be found anywhere. And that's one of the reasons why we're asking for another aerator.
It was decent look at.
I think it was, I'm not sure.
I mean, if it's, I'm looking at your area, I'm looking up, if you're with a gas engine at, you know, 1,800, 2,000 hours, you done got the good out of it, right?
Yeah.
Right, you know, diesels, obviously, it's, you know, it's got more longevity. You know, you get to 5,000, I'm looking at things that's got 5,000 hours on it, and it's diesel. Guess what, you're there now.
Yeah.
And two, you've got to look at some equipment. Maybe a really good price on the product, but it may be a foreign product. And then down the road, when you get 2, 3 years old, parts of it, availability, you can't find parts.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You have to look at it going into the purchase. How are the parts? Of course, you do your research, read your reviews. If you got a 3-year-old, somebody else has a 3-year-old machine, they can't get a basic part.
Yeah.
Okay, you steer away from that. Something
Exactly.
you can get service and repairs later on.
And I think like what Chairman said is just, you know, getting stuff that you can get multiples of and have parts on hand, and that's what kind of we were able to luckily, you know, because we had the same kind of zero turn. When one went down at the golf course, we were able to get a part off of one of the broken ones at the rec department. So I mean, we didn't have it on hand, but at least we had the same mower that we could get a part from.
So was zero turns what you got there?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And I mean, you got 3, no brainer.
Yeah. So, just moving down the list, the aerator for Lake Genesco, we do have a company that charges us about $3,500 per time to come in and aerate. So we'd like to do it 3 to 4 times a year. So we could continue doing it with that company, or we could potentially purchase another one. So the greens really just need that to be healthy. So that's something that we have to just deal with, and what our long-term solution for aerating the greens is going to be. Are we going to do it ourselves, or are we going to continue to contract it out?
I mean, 42,000, buy one, and what they charge you?
3,500.
Per time. Is it per year, 3,500, or per trip?
It's per trip.
Per trip.
Per trip.
Per trip.
All right, so you do it 4 times a year, right?
Yeah, 3 to 4.
Have we been doing that? That's what we want to do.
Well, we did it. Well, I think like the last time it was done like that, and then the first time that I did it when I was here, it was done like that.
So they come in there and do it 4 times a year, that's $12,000.
So we're looking at 4 years, but you're also talking about the salary for the guy that has to do it. So that,
You're cheaper to let it be done, just like the man.
yeah, because after 5 years, is that aerator gonna?
What's the life expectancy of that area?
Still some
Well, according to
And they-
where you're at, and who's deciding that. So, I mean, we've gotten some stuff, like, we have some equipment now that some people would say the life expectancy was probably 2 years ago, but if you can get, you know, it's just according to how you want to manage it.
Keep contracting it for now?
I would say contract. It just, if you go, and it goes 4 times a year, if that's what it needs.
3,500 isn't bad. We help. We come back through and get up all the plugs and all that.
Yeah, but so say, because you know, it's,
We're gonna have to maintain, keep the upkeep of a piece of product that we're gonna use for
If we're willing to continue to
I
pay
would
for
say
that, if I could
contract
choose.
it out.
Yeah, that's what I'm for.
I just wanna make sure I heard that right, it's 3,500 a year?
3,500 per time
Yes.
that comes.
Times 4, right?
Yeah.
Which is,
Well, we could go, like, it could probably be like 3 1-year quarter.
About 10,000 a year.
Yeah, well, you can't buy the machine and keep that employee running.
14,000, we're doing it 4 times.
Yeah, 14.
That's the rate that I would go right
I hear
there.
what you guys are saying, but just
That
a
takes
little
more
while.
off you
oh,
also,
yeah.
because
Sure,
you
we'd
just set
rather
a
that.
schedule and that's when it's gonna be done.
Yeah.
But we debated this a little bit, not about you, but, you know, on heavier equipment, you know, lease versus own. And again, in the 3-year period, you're after the machine. If the machine's lifespan is 3 years, then that makes sense, right? But if the machine's lifespan is 10 years, that doesn't make sense. You gotta remember
No,
that's
this
like-
is a company that's gonna come in and do the
I
work.
follow you. How you
You
do it?
gotta realize that's a ground engaging tool. Those tips where some aerators, you only get a couple trips, the teeth are gone, you're gonna spend $1,000 on a set of teeth.
Right, that's why I was asking, because we're just talking about the service, not.
Yeah. Maintenance, no use. Question mark.
All right, the passenger golf cart, we won't spend a lot of time on that. That's something that I feel like we need, especially for 18. We get the complaints every year about the parking and people with disabilities or the elderly really have a hard time getting around there. One, because of just the condition of the ground that they're walking on, and 2, the distance. So,
I'm just curious, and I sorry to interrupt you, we have a lease with a golf cart program, right? We didn't.
yeah, I did check, I did check into that this week as far as if we could add one on. And they said we could add one on if we like, but it's an 8-month lead time, so it wouldn't really help us immediately.
And the golf carts we got are all 2-seaters.
Yeah,
We don't have any
but-
club cab.
But one thing that I've just considered doing, just this week and talked to Jason a little bit, is we might try to convert one of the, ones that we have on lease if we can. They have like little, seat conversion packages that you can get for like $400. And I'm just now learning, with our new carts, how many we really need. With the old, we keep usually 50 over there. And with the old carts, we needed all 50 over there because about 15 were gonna be broke down at all times. Usually we need about 40 running carts over there. So right now, when the carts are new, I feel like we could get one of those conversion kits and probably
Put a
just do
seat
that.
on it.
Yeah, put a seat on it and we'll be good to go at least for a couple years until stuff's teared out. So that was kind of the solution for there.
Sounds good.
All right, good. All right, moving along, media upgrades, Knox Center Conference Room. I feel like we really need a place that is good that has some technology in it. There's a nice space in there that's got a nice table and all that, but we really need like a video board and a computer in there. So for example, this week, I'm conducting and assisting in 4 youth football drafts. We really don't have a good place to do, we have a good place, but we don't have the technology to match it. We need to have a screen that has all the players listed on it. We post the rules of the draft up. You know, as players are getting drafted, we're dragging and dropping, and that's just one use that's coming up this week. We need to be able to have professional meetings where I'm gonna have a meeting with all the association board members. This is what we're gonna go over. I'm having a meeting with my staff, or I'm bringing you guys in to do a presentation. There needs to be a place that, myself, parents associations can have a,
So
professional.
what you're looking for is like an overhead Avery
An
projector
overhead
system.
board, yeah, or either a big, some people are doing them with bigger monitors now. Like that would work with a screen right there and a computer connected to it. Or you have like the 65-inch monitors.
I was gonna say, you now just get you a monitor,
Yeah.
a flat screen,
Yeah.
roll around car instead of that crap there is. That's old.
I mean, we just pulled every one of these out of every classroom in the school system.
Well, Will suggested like the 65 to 70-inch monitor, either mounted
Put your
on the wall
laptop up
with
to it,
a,
you got Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
put your presentation on there. I don't know how in the world we'd go back to a screen.
and Will gave you that price. But I do really feel like we need a space like that to where we can conduct various types of meetings and presentations. Bunker rate for Genesco. We don't have a bunker rate at Genesco, and we're a golf course. To me, like that's, there might be 4 in the state of Georgia that don't have a bunker rate. And the thing that's important about the bunker rates is You know, you can hand rake stuff, but right now at a time that we're all short staffed and you want to operate as efficiently as possible, you know, the bunker rake would really be beneficial for us as far as just keeping those bunkers up. They do better than a hand rake anyways. They get deeper, they turn the dirt over, and they're quicker. So, and we're a golf course, you need a bunker rake. The 2500E, that's one of the that would be like a T-mower. Right now we have two of the, we'll just call them for layman's terms, the good mowers that we use for the good grass. And right now, if one of those goes down, you know, you're in trouble. We're in big trouble. So right now we actually have a greens mower and a T-mower. What most golf courses have are two greens mowers and one T-mower. We're using our T-mower right now to do, because the T-mowers can do both really. But we really need three of those. So
that's the greens mower, the 2500E?
Yeah, it can do both.
And they're $62,000.
Yeah. And literally, if you don't have a greens mower that's working, you pretty much have to shut down the golf course. Because you can't play on, unless the grass is cut with those special mowers, you have no greens, it's just grass. So, and right now, you know, we're fine, but like, we could not be fine in a hurry. And you're like in shutdown territory if you don't have any of those working. The blower that we have right now, it hooks on the back of a tractor. It blows. It's used primarily in the off season. When the grass isn't growing, it blows leaves off the fairways. The one we have right now is about 20 years old. It's bent to heck, and it's just not working the way that it needs to.
We got one in Public Works too that do not use full time.
Do they?
Yeah,
Do they even?
Do they even use it?
Yeah, they don't have it.
I don't think it's been
I'm sorry.
yard, because it was
You might want to look. John's probably got one.
Yeah, I would love it. We would love it because we use it pretty regularly in the off season, from what I understand.
Yeah, check with John. We've got two of them, I think.
Of course, you had to have it. We had to have them get the high straw off the roads to make a motor grader job easier, and I've never seen them do it.
All right,
I'm sorry.
All right, no problem.
the sod for Genesco, we could probably get $50,000 worth of sod right now and not have enough. But in my opinion, the good thing about getting sod and addressing some of the areas that need it is it shows the public they're trying. Whenever they see new grass out there, I'm not saying you gotta come through and fix all the dead spots and all the bare spots and all the bad spots. But by putting a little something out there in an area, it says they give up, you know. And I think it's good to be able to do that, to kind of feed them a little bit. 'Cause, you know, we got some of those guys that play regularly. They'll come up and, you know, they're just challenging. What projects, what's next? You know, they want to know what's coming, what are you working on, and rightfully so. I mean, they're taxpayers, and that's the area of the county they care about is Lake Genesco, so they want to see improvements being made, and this is a way that we can say, look, number 6 is in terrible shape, you know, down there by the green, and we're doing something about it.
Can you post something after the golf course too about what you're doing and these types of things?
Like the updates you give us, if you had something in there saying, hey, here's what we're working on this week.
Yeah.
And also, this probably, I would put this in your annual operational budget instead of a specialty item, because I think a percentage of sod every year that needs to be replaced, you know, if 10,000 is a good number, and you need 50,000 and 10,000 every year.
Yeah, we should. I mean, that.
Have we got irrigation to every one of these places?
Well, there's a
Another
lot of,
big
well,
thing.
we wouldn't put the sod where there's not any irrigation.
Okay.
And there's a lot of places that don't have irrigation, that'll never have irrigation, and it's fine, you know, because we're just not gonna irrigate between some of the holes. That's not the kind of golf. I mean, I know who we are as a golf course. We're not gonna be Reynolds ever. We're a municipal golf course. I wanna be one of the best municipal golf courses around. And I think we are right now. I'm real proud of where we're at. We're getting a lot of good feedback about the greens and the fairways, and we got the new carts now, and revenues are up for the year. And if you go to Bowden right now and look at it compared to us, you know, we're sitting good. We got several of our members that drive right past Little Fishing Creek every single day and come play with us. I'm happy about where we're at, but you know, people love seeing people moving on the golf course, water on the golf course, new grass on the golf course, mowers going, blowers going. That's what people like to see, not sitting under a tree. So
there's gonna irrigation, you know, in your 5-year plan, just in case we do need water.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have it, like I said, we have irrigation to the fairways and the greens, and,
All of them?
yes. Now, there might be some areas that need to be tweaked to where, this little chunk of the fairway is missing some, but that's a large, expensive project. So I'm not going, that's the Thrive. That's where we get to the Thrive.
Well, I want that Thrive, because I've got that golf at family.
Yeah, oh yeah. And last but not least.
He said we're good where we are.
Okay, thank
Don't
you.
need more.
My dad had complained, so.
Yeah,
I
see, there you go.
Last but not least is just the overtime. We are putting in a decent amount of overtime every week, especially when we're in like baseball season and stuff like that. And we're in a tough spot right now because some of our better employees, the reason why we're retaining them is because they're able to get some overtime. And if you take away that overtime, you may lose some of your best employees. And right now, people aren't knocking on the door to come apply for jobs. So, like right now, for example, I probably could, if I hired one more person, I could probably do away with a good chunk of overtime, but I don't know how good that person's going to be, and then I might lose my two best guys, and then I'm in kind of for a hurt. So that's kind of the decision that, it's tough for me right now, and one of the things that I'm dealing with is because, I know that there are ways that I could reduce the overtime. And, if I'm given the directive to do it, I'll do it. I am scared of the repercussions of that decision because for some people, that $13 an hour is worth it because I get 15 hours a week of overtime. If I'm not getting the 15 hours a week of overtime, that $13 an hour isn't worth it. So, and some of those people are very critical to our operation. We're running a business, we're running an organization here, and sometimes you have to make the tough decisions, and that decision might be like, we're going to have to do something about the overtime, and we'll have to deal with whatever the repercussions of that. But that's kind of where I'm at. I would rather keep paying overtime than fill another position right now because I know I have good people. The ones that I'm giving overtime to, they're good. They're solid. They're working. They're not. Yeah, they're not stealing. They're not stealing from us. They're working, and I'm like, what would I do if you were gone? So, but I wish that we could keep that overtime where it's at, so we can keep feeding our good employees and basically giving them a way to, make ends meet for them and make this place, somewhere they want to stay working.
So keeping it where this is additional, so is that we have taken it out, we need to put it back in?
So we've run way over on overtime since before my time here, and so, but when we've done the budget each year, we've always put it back down to 40,000 that we actually spent back down to 15, just hoping that we can get back to that. But so we've been spending this 25 pretty much every year the whole time I've been here. But I just thought this was a good opportunity to have this exact conversation. And Bert and I have talked through all this, and I think there's valid points on both sides. And if y'all are okay with continuing to spend that and not looking at adding another position,
does he have any vacant positions that we're not?
I do have one vacant position on that side right now that I'm really not going crazy to try to fill because I know that if it fills, what it means, and it might be tell them what he's won. You got a new guy, but you lost your best one, so we're really worse off. You know what I mean?
I'm absolutely for protecting your good guys. With any business, there's guys that need some improvement and coaching or replace it. That's how I look at it, because I think, there's a lot of efficiency gaps in some of our employees. They get paid to do a job. It's any business, you just gonna have to, hands up, take care of your good. Can't find it. But
I agree.
But those ones that aren't making it, they might need to be replaced.
There's some, and I agree with you, and there's some that, just in general, I'm not going to call any names or anything like that, but just, there's some people in some departments, in all different kinds of businesses, not just us, that 5 years ago, you'd be wanting to move someone along. But now you're comparing that person not to a better employee. It's either would you rather have them or zero? Because a lot of times what you're looking at is if you run this one off, what you have is zero. So in a perfect world, you want one that's not performing at the level that you want them to. You want to replace them with someone that's better, and that's the whole point of running them. But right now, there's a lot of uncertainty in what you can get. So, so that's a challenge that we're all facing right now. Not just us in government, but in all working environments. So that's really all I have. I appreciate y'all taking the time to listen, and I'll respect all the decisions that you guys make, and y'all have a good rest of your weekend and rest of your day.
Thank you so much for what you're doing.
You
want to finish this up right quick, Jason?
We have one that in the break room.
That's good, that's good. All right, lady.
I got a birthday
I'm
party.
good, I'm good. I got my kids at home.
Oh, that's right.
I told them I'd bring them home
Yeah,
Zach.
we'll do the lunch break now and then come back and we'll go through and prioritize like we've done in the past, and then whatever discussion I want to come back to that.
A good little thing that, everybody can figure out if we're gonna do I just put a little stars in it.
Yeah, I'll go print those off, y'all can work on those.
Yeah, well, I got a grandson, who told me to.
Yes, you got a birthday
I'm a
party.
little disappointed you didn't invite us to the party, but bring back some cake, please. Thank you very much.
Well, everybody can show up. You got your swimmies on and your little goggles, because I always keep my slippers on.
Not all of us do,
Okay, there goes the H on my list over here.
Can someone please bless the food first?
I bless the food.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you believe that? I bless the food.
Go ahead, she's elevated.
Father, in the name of Jesus, we just come to you today just to say thank you, Lord. Thank you for the fellowship and the gathering. Lord, we just thank you for all that you're doing and all that you've done. We ask a special blessing over this food, Lord. Take out any impurities and put it in the natural. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.